is to know. From masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush, but well, no, we're not broadcasting from there at all. We're broadcasting from like 4 undisclosed locations. This is Real Spoilers, episode 716, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I feel like I'm supposed to throw up a fist or
Please don't do that.
things, or-
Nope.
No, yeah, no.
No,
We have
we're on
video
video
now.
We're on video. Don't do that.
So I'm in Atlanta, so we couldn't get into the house. I guess they could, but it would be a crime.
Did Marvel invite you to take a tour of the studio there?
Sure. Let's say yes.
That's okay. I just wanted. I mean, that's great tie-in for the episode. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had to sign an NDA. I couldn't take any pictures. I can't share anything.
Sure, of
but
course.
it absolutely happened.
Okay.
If you signed an NDA, you're still signing the NDA.
There was a retina scan. It was a whole thing. I guess let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe.
This is Kevin.
This is
Oh,
Tom.
and this is Rick.
And this is Rick. Rick is joining us via the magic of ZoomTube, although we're all magical today. Hey, Rick, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me, guys.
So you should tell us a little bit about your background because it's pretty impressive.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that, but thank you.
Well,
We would.
Yeah,
based on
for
who
this,
you're
for this
talking
show,
to right now,
absolutely.
it's-
Yeah, absolutely,
it's
it is.
impressive.
I'm actually from the Atlanta area, which is weird that you're there and I'm no longer for a few
He
weeks.
fled when he found out I was arriving.
Yeah, so I've got a little bit of a history with Marvel Studios. You could check my IMDb's, but I worked on quite a number of things in the last 5-6 years-ish. Not Black Panther. I wouldn't be on here for that. So officially, I'm not here from Marvel at all, by the way. I'm just a fan of Marvel, and I'm a fan of your guys' show, and making this happen. So thanks to Kevin for that. But what do you want to know? You want to know, like, what should I name off for you guys?
What have you worked on?
Now I need to look up my own IMDb. So a couple years ago, I worked on Thor Ragnarok. That was my first Marvel project.
And what was
So-
your role What was your role there?
So back then, I was sort of on set doing something called NCAM. It's like a visual effects tool.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Marvel is using anymore, but I'm not going to go into details on that because that would take way too long.
Sure.
And then I ended up moving from LA out here to Georgia to work on the Infinity War and Endgame movies. So that was a long one because, they shot both of those together.
Sure.
And then after that, I ended up becoming an assistant editor. So I was doing dailies on those Marvel movies. And then I became an assistant editor and been doing Marvel stuff as in that role for a few years. So whatever the Disney Plus stuff was, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, some more coming up that I won't be able to talk too much about yet.
No She-Hulk though.
I did not work on She-Hulk. No, that was some friends of mine. A lot of these things, they're all shooting in Atlanta, but they're happening at the same time, and they each have their own teams. So if you're on one, you can't really get onto the
Oh,
other one.
sure.
No, that makes sense. That's awesome, though. I mean, Disney Plus for the Marvel stuff, they've had some great shows. Like you said, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, Miss Marvel. I mean, I've enjoyed all the Disney Plus stuff. I think we all have. I don't think they've had a miss yet.
It's kind of the same as the movies. You come out of every single one going, that
Right.
was like pretty decent. And then a week or two later, you're thinking, yeah, but how do they compare to all the others? Because they're all like pretty good.
It's I think we've said that like even the lower tier Marvel stuff, you're still like, it still was a fun movie. It was still a good time at it.
Yeah,
you know?
you're not watching it again. You're not
Yeah, I
gonna
mean, I
wait that
need to
spend money
watch
on it.
Thor 2 or Iron Man 2 again, but
they're not bad movies.
they're not bad movies.
That's what we always say. It doesn't
Yeah.
if you're trying to rank them, first of all, it's really hard with the amount of them and the
Yeah,
quality.
especially now.
But when you talk about the lower tier, just because technically there has to be if you're ranking anything, none of them are bad. Obviously there's that whole DC versus Marvel thing, which is absurd that it has to even exist. In
It
this
would
day
be
and age, but-
versus if maybe the other person was putting out quality content.
Yeah,
But-
then it could be fun.
yeah,
But
right.
But they, there are people that will hate on and give everything Marvel does a 1, if they're rating on IMDb, all that. It's so silly. It's like, no, none of these movies are bad. They could be not your cup of tea, but when people rate them like the 1 or 0.5 stars or whatever, it's like, no. It's,
Yeah, right.
there's-
What are you doing?
I see on here, one of your most recent credits is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which I'm sure you're not able to say anything about, but
Right.
I know we're all really excited for that one, so that's pretty cool.
Well, you can get a little taste of that in a couple weeks when the Christmas special comes out.
Pretty excited.
Oh, you worked on the Christmas special?
They shot those kind of at the same time. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Oh,
Well,
okay. That makes a lot of sense.
That will be fun. That is going to be really fun. And it's crazy. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you know the news, but with James Gunn going between Marvel and heading up DC now, that's wild.
It is pretty wild that someone's managed to navigate that successfully.
That's really, really cool. I mean, it's crazy to think that like the door opened up over there and he went over there for a bit and then he came back and still was able to do the Guardians 3 and the Christmas special and then hop back over to DC and run the joint. So it's
At a
pretty
certain point, if you're important enough to either, then they're going to figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah, it's
And
cool.
It seems like he is. So
here's something I haven't heard anybody say, and I don't pay that much attention to Twitter, even before all the late crazy stuff.
It's
but
bonkers, man.
So maybe someone said this, but I feel like James Gunn is our best hope at getting a cinematic Marvel DC crossover.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh
absolutely.
man.
I mean,
could you imagine? Could you imagine the amount of money
it's
that
all-
would make?
James Gunn has made these wildly successful Marvel movies that everyone loves.
He's got friends in both camps now.
Right, but he set
Yeah.
the tone for MCU, right? Like after Guardians, everything kind of had that comedy feel to it, and it really changed the tone of the movies. Then he jumps over and makes the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker are great. Some of my favorite stuff at DC. Now he's heading that place up. So he's made quality products on both sides. He's obviously a great filmmaker, and I totally agree. Like if anyone can do it, he's got the connections.
Can I tell you what I would rather have is like, don't give me the Avengers versus the Justice League, but like give me one character and one character. Like give me Spider-Man and not the Flash, but the Flash, if that makes sense.
He's
A
gonna
different
team 'em
Flash,
up,
maybe?
He's gonna team them up with all their analogs. You're gonna have
give me a Hawkeye and a Green Arrow.
right.
I mean, that's what they would
all
always
day.
do in the comics, right?
Yeah.
They'd always team
Yeah.
up Superman and Captain America or Batman and Moon Knight. Like,
Right.
they would
Give me
always have
Superman and the Silver Surfer all day.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh my,
I'm guessing just because of how much work it took to get Spider-Man in the MCU, it might be a long shot to
also very
a
true.
But-
completely other studio.
But eventually, when they start to see, I'm not saying it's going to be tomorrow or anything, but if the numbers start kind of petering out,
They'll have
if
to figure something
the
out.
quote unquote superhero fatigue, which clearly I don't
We
think
keep
is a thing.
we keep talking about it, and it's yet to happen.
But if it ever does happen, you know that both studios are going to be like, hey, we've got this idea.
Hey,
we can.
you've got a space cop. We've got a space cop. What can we do with that?
48 hours.
With the Green Lantern and Nova all
There
day.
So I do have a good James Gunn story if you guys want.
Heck yeah.
This is before Guardians was shooting. Actually, it was when Suicide Squad was shooting. I used to be the guy who ran the theater for the screenings at Pinewood Studios.
Oh, nice.
Dope.
And they would just the studios would send James Gunn like movies to watch because
Yeah.
they want him to watch stuff. And so we'd set him up for him on Sundays. And I watched the Academy Award winning movies that year. It was like Knives Out one Sunday and Parasite.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
My joke for anyone who came through with these screenings was to say, the only movie they sent me was insert the kids movie of the week.
Yeah.
And I said that week was it was the Playmobil movie. Remember when that came out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Vaguely.
The
you guys talk about that
budget.
one?
No,
We did not.
The budget Lego movie.
So I made the joke while everyone was coming in, like, "Hey, sorry, they only sent me the Playmobil movie. That's the one you guys are here for, right?" And he started laughing. That was always a hit with everybody.
That's pretty good.
And then he's like, "You know what's funny is my very first movie was a Playmobil movie." because when I was
Oh.
a kid, I grabbed all those toys and was making little movies. with them.
Oh my
It was
god,
all blood and guts and violence.
That's funny.
that's
Well,
so great.
That's great.
So
Well,
he
he's-
launched into the story about how he was making a movie with those little toys. I thought it was so great, man.
You should have gotten a copy of it. I'm sure he has it on VHS somewhere.
You know what? That's a good question. I should ask if
Right?
he had that. So he was talking to somebody else about, I made Suicide Squad, but part of the deal was I wanted it to be R-rated. And so they had to, come to that agreement. And I said, so if you ever make a Playmobil movie, R-rated, right? It would have to be.
Perfect.
It's definitely in
No,
my
he's even
contract.
bigger now. It's NC-17.
Yeah,
Oh, you might. Yeah.
he might get it unrated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
it'd be so good.
So we should probably do shameless plugs. Where's my Word document? There it is. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That's always helpful. You can also share an episode, which is super helpful and a great way to let like-minded people know that we exist. So here are people who are kind enough to share an episode this week. Librarian Cynthia, Lane Levanway, Ralph Tribble, Chris Sanders, Gabriel Lugo, Travis Tewitt, Tom Dowdy, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Chris Valls, Chris Magic Man, Julianne Jordan, Heather Sachs, Dissect That Film, Christopher Rex, Chris Williams, Ken Holtzhauser, L Is Not, Spoiler Piece Theater, Linda Wright, The Real Pete, Binge Movies, Mike and Oscar, Geek to Me Radio, Matt Naglia, Feel and Film, Ronnie Castle, Invasion of the Remake, Nguyen Lee, In Session Film, and Ryan Terry. So thank you very much for sharing an episode. And of course, don't forget, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/realspoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. So,
We have a review too.
oh, how about that? Oh,
Yeah.
is it worth reading, or are we going
Yeah, no, it is.
be
Yeah,
upset? We're going to
yeah.
cry.
No, it's a good one.
Okay.
5 stars over on iTunes. Great podcast. Though they sometimes segue into other films for 10 to 20 minutes. Kind of annoying. Kind of annoying. Other than that, I love it.
Yeah, you'll come to love that. You'll
All right.
like people at first are like, "What are they doing?" And then eventually you're just like, "Oh, okay, that's."
It's just part of the show.
Yeah,
what
that
we
must be
do.
a newer listener.
It must
Yeah.
be, yeah.
You'll get used to it. Also, we should-
real quick.
Yeah.
I've left you guys a review before.
Have you?
Yeah.
On iTunes?
I didn't.
Wait
prep
a
for this.
minute. Are you that guy that said 1 star? These guys suck, and then I printed it on a T-shirt.
You're gonna need to narrow that down.
Proud
Yeah,
to say that
there's-
was not me. No, you
there's
read
a
it on
few
the
of those.
air. This was a
Okay.
couple years ago. I remember
Oh.
it was the Woman on the Train episode. At the time, you said it was the best review you'd ever gotten.
Oh my gosh.
I think that was Tom O'Keefe. That was Tom's wife who said that.
Oh,
Oh dang. Maybe we need to
In
put
fact, she's
that
about
on
to
the
walk
back.
behind me on her way.
Oh,
to the
there she
shower.
is.
there she is. There she goes.
Thank you.
Yeah. She
What
can't
was
hear
you what was your username? Do you remember?
Yeah. I use my email address. It's RB Ives.
Okay.
Singing
I'll have to find
Snowman.
Yeah.
I went into all the inside jokes that you guys have, and you're like, "Dang, this guy's been watching the show forever," and I really have. I remember
awesome.
sitting doing dailies in the middle of the night on the Avengers movies and listening to you guys talk about the other Avengers.
Wait
movies
a
that I
minute.
watched.
That's
That's
insane. Are you
crazy.
serious right now?
Yeah, totally.
That is
Oh my
amazing.
God, that's
Hold
so
on.
great.
So we were a part behind the scenes of the
You were
Avengers
there.
movies.
Now, keep in mind, I listen to a lot of podcasts in the middle of the
No,
night.
no,
You're
no,
not
no,
the
no,
only
no.
one, but
Stop,
definitely
no,
one of
no,
the
no,
longer
no, no.
ones.
Hey, we're in
don't-
the mix.
Yeah,
you know?
we don't need that part. Just
Yeah, we'll
we
take
were-
it.
Well, let me ask you.
I look at
before-
it like this: when I worked at a grocery store a million years ago, and I was like 22, there was this girl that worked there, and she was a legit smoke show. And one day, she comes up to me out of the blue, and she's like, "Do you want to go to the zoo or something with me sometime?" I have no idea why. And we went on the date, and it was horrible. Like it was just bad from beginning to end. But like an Oscar, it was an honor just to have been nominated, right?
Sure.
To know for a brief period of time I was in the mix. That's how I feel about that story.
All right,
That's pretty good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is crazy though. I mean, the Marvel stuff, when did we so we didn't do Iron Man, we didn't do Thor.
Yeah, I mean, so
we
2013 was when
so
we started. So
Man-
what would have?
Man of Steel.
Right, but
so
what
we're
would-
post Iron Man 2? Right?
We did talk Iron Man 2, didn't we?
We had to have
Well,
because
it was.
I mean, the
Thor-
Avengers
it
was 2012.
Was it Thor 2? Was our first? I remember it's something to do with Thor was an early one for us.
Yeah, possibly.
So Avengers was 2012, so it would have been
Right.
right before.
It
Yeah,
all
I don't
blurs
remember, but
together.
Thor
It was either
2,
Iron Man
though.
2 or Thor 2.
Iron Man
But that's
2
crazy
was
to think that-
2010.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, Iron Man.
Well, maybe
3
the
was
next time
2013.
it's a slow week, maybe we circle back so we can.
That would be
eventually have done
amazing.
All of these.
Yeah,
So,
that'd be good stuff.
But 2013 was Iron Man 3 and Thor: The Dark World. So
okay. It's crazy to think that Rick was listening to us working on those Avengers movies. That's
So long
bonkers.
ago.
That's
pretty
yes,
cool.
it is so long ago.
So we should probably talk about the movie because I'm in a hotel room that I'll have to check out of.
Oh,
So
all right.
You didn't get the extended stay, just in
I
case.
did not get the.
Well,
Yeah,
we
please.
have to
Just saw
balance.
your wife leave for the gym, so I know she's gonna be there. For
No,
a
she
while.
was back from the gym, so she was
Oh,
going
okay.
to wash the gym off of her. So, which is great. I'm grateful because I got to sit next to her on a plane. So
Yeah.
Well, if you have to bounce, Real Spoilers has no budget for overage fees. So
you might have
Also-
to take over the closing.
there you go.
Spoiler.
So I think
Black Panther. Dick,
this
go.
is the movie that the Eternals wanted to be.
I
think
I love Eternals for the record. So
I know you do,
So
and,
did
and
I.
like
Yeah, I quite liked it too.
I totally I respect your decisions and your loves, but to
Until
me,
now.
until right now. But this is. I don't remember. Like, this is a different movie. This is a different tone than anything they've done at Marvel.
Yeah.
Well, it had to be.
It did. It
Yeah.
did. And
But we've
I
never
can't-
seen anything like this with any lead actor in a franchise passing away and them recognizing the character passing away. Like,
Fast and Furious.
no,
But
he
they never
didn't
say
die.
that he didn't
Yeah,
die.
they don't. They don't
Right?
say that the character died, but they
Right.
certainly address. I mean,
I
you
was
know
like-
what they're getting at.
You do, but they don't. But they let him ride off into the sunset. I mean, this is the
Literally.
first time
They
Right,
really
and-
took it in the opening 5 minutes too, right?
Yeah.
Elephant in the room. We're just gonna take care of this right now.
Which is smart because they needed to. I
Yeah.
think if they had
There's
played
nothing
this game,
they could have done.
Yeah,
But
and
this-
also I think it would have been really bad if they had made the movie about him dying.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially
Right.
since it would have all been off camera.
And they
but
do
like,
they do sort of do that.
They,
but
no,
it's,
it's more about his
The
grief,
characters,
about the
right.
grief and their
yes,
reaction to
and
his
the
death.
trauma.
And
Yeah,
they don't
because you
even-
always wonder how are you going to kill a character off screen who's so important.
yeah.
And it was really smart to say, you know what, we're going to do it from the perspective of the next main character.
But
yeah.
what I also think is kind of brilliant is it's not Thanos, it's not Kang, it's not Doctor Doom, which I kind of was hoping was in this movie, but wasn't.
I was wondering.
But it's something completely relatable. It's cancer, and they don't say that
Right.
it's cancer because obviously that's what really happened in real life. But they definitely allude to
I
it being
think they
cancer.
also don't want to paint themselves in a corner from a storytelling standpoint. Like if at some point they have a character that knows
Sure.
how to beat that, you know what I mean? That it's,
God
you know,
forbid
like,
they introduce Captain Marvel.
yeah.
And now we're
because
all in
like
trouble.
that's the problem with superhero movies with when something like from real life encroaches in this kind of manner is that like they always win their battles, right? And so
Sure,
it's
sure.
like it, and they have all this advanced science, but yet like there's
This
still
thing
cancer,
couldn't. Yeah.
right? And so that's kind of a weird juxtaposition, or it's also kind of downbeat to say like no matter how smart we get, like we're still going to lose to cancer. Like that's
You know, there is something, I don't know, but there is something kind of relatable, kind of going back to what Joe said, though. Like, you've got the Black Panther, who is this incredible superhero and wins all these battles and fights with the Avengers. But at the end of the day, it's like no matter what money, no matter what technology, there's still things that, I mean, you just can't beat. And I know that's
sure.
kind of it's kind of down. I know that it's kind of downbeat, especially in a movie that usually the superhero movie is going to bring you up in the end. But it is relatable because we face loss all the time, and it doesn't matter how rich you are, it doesn't matter how famous you are. That's something that everyone can relate to, losing someone. And so I think them doing it. I mean, obviously their hand was forced in this direction, but rather than recast, which I'm split on. Like, I do think it'd be cool if the character could have lived on, but
Spoilers, you don't have to recast him now.
well, very true. But
Yeah.
I'm split on it because I'm like, they
just got to
recast,
wait 20 years.
but they recast Batman, they recast Superman,
sure.
they recast everybody, and now you have this. Black Panther was a huge movie. You have a black superhero. It did tremendous for audiences. People in the black community could see themselves, and then it's like, well, no, you don't get to recast and live the character live on. He's dead, and so I'm torn from that manner. But with that being said, the way they handled it was beautiful. The way that they handled grief and loss and the characters coping with that, a mother, a sister, a wife, a father, all of that from all the friends, obviously, and family, it was really handled beautifully. And I think with all of the cultural stuff that they did in Wakanda with the funeral and just the different way that people grieve and celebrating life, I think that they handled it amazingly. So props to them for being able to take this real life tragedy and pay tribute to the actor, who obviously this is a huge, dedicated to Chadwick Boseman. And it was great just being able to see the mural and hear these people, the characters talk about him when they're really also saying Chadwick Boseman, really.
I think my daughter, actually, I took my oldest to see this, and she picked up on that almost immediately. And she said, when we left, I was like, talking to her, and she was like, it just felt real. Like all of the grief and all of the sadness felt real. And she's like, and she said, even, she's 10, 11. And she was like, because it is real.
Right. All those actors are really grieving on the screen. And so,
and I think, no, go ahead, Rick.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask what your guys' experience in the theater was like for that opening few minutes.
It was for me
crickets.
personally, it was like, it like immediately got me. Like I felt the tears welling up.
That Marvel intro,
the Marvel intro was pretty
with him
amazing.
in every letter. I started like my eyes were welling up when they did that.
Total silence.
Yes,
Man, that's the first time I remember wanting to clap and cheer, and also at the exact same time. Can't even breathe.
Well, I could see it going either way. In my theater, again, it was complete silence, but I could see that where people want to celebrate Chadwick, celebrate his accomplishments, and cheer for him. But then also, it's like a moment of silence and this beautiful footage of him and everything. And they did a purple background, and every letter of Marvel was footage of Black Panther / Chadwick Boseman up there and all his scenes from the movies. It was handled so beautifully. Again, that and the funeral scene and everything. But yeah, I agree. It was good that they got out of the way for the story, but also the whole movie really is dealing with this loss and how different characters handle that and cope with it and sends them on different paths. And Shuri, who is, takes over pretty much as the lead in this movie, she's got a lot to do here, and she gets more to do as the movie goes on.
I think that Ryan Coogler had an unenviable task, much like, oh, good Lord, the Conjuring guy. James Wan.
Yeah, they did on Fast and Furious.
Like having to redo, and you can. It's funny as I was watching it, I was like, okay, these look to be like bits and pieces that were probably, it was supposed to be the Black Panther versus, right? Like that's what they were doing.
Definitely.
And you can definitely tell there are moments where I was like, okay, this is definitely like we're going to take this piece out that was supposed to be Chadwick Boseman, and we'll just make it Shuri at this point. But he had to redo that whole script. He had to retool that whole thing and make it work and find a way to make it cohesive. And I don't think he's getting enough credit, much like James Wan, for having to. I mean, James Wan saved that franchise. Whatever that franchise became, like, it is what it is. But that franchise does not continue unless James Wan steps up and makes that work post the accident. Ryan Coogler is in the same boat here, and I think he made. I always thought that Captain America, First Avenger, and Winter Soldier were like the best 1-2 punch that Marvel has ever done, and I think Black Panther 1 and 2 might be better. Like in the grand scheme of things, I think the Black Panther 1 and 2 are like perfect movies. You can't, like, this is a perfect movie. You cannot change anything about this.
See, I wouldn't agree there.
I'm going to have some changes for you.
I thought this movie really drags in spots.
Interesting. I didn't
it
feel
did
that
not
at
need
all.
to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. I also get that like they had a practically impossible task laid out in front of them, which is like make a fun superhero movie about your main character being dead.
Right.
And also the actor is really dead. It's not just a contract negotiation and somebody wanted more money and walked away. Like you killed off a character. Like you
got to figure it out.
Like you've got real grief hanging over. And so it's like, and I do think the movie is, as well as it handles it, it also still suffers because it never really gets to be fun in the same way.
It's true.
Because it can't. And so like it's hard to hold it against it, but it also doesn't change the fact that it still isn't fun in the same way.
Tonally, it's really
hard.
Was
the first
to
Black Panther fun?
More fun than this.
I think Chadwick Boseman is so, here you go, Kevin, so cool.
He's so
and
charismatic.
smooth.
Yeah, he's
in
very
that
charismatic.
like he has the relationship with Shuri, and like he brings an era of fun. And I think, Tom, to your point, the scene that I think of when I think about fun is Shuri and the gal from the head lady, the head of the security,
Yeah.
Okoye.
Okoye, go to MIT and find Riri. Like those interactions when they're out of Wakanda, I think are fun. And I think Riri Williams, who is kind of your new Iron Man,
Right.
If you have Invincible Iron Man, maybe I think it's like number 11. Congratulations, because that is now an expensive book. That character does bring an era of some levity, right? Like that's I think that's where she comes in. I think she's great as well. I think she kind of steals the show for me. I thought she was fantastic, but I do agree that this is definitely a much more somber, not typical. It's crazy because Thor 4 was so over the top with the comedy, and this is like none of it.
Well, and
like it's very different.
And I also get that, like, if they had pivoted and done this like really touching opening scene, and then was like, enough all that,
Wackadoo!
right? Waka waka.
It would
like,
undermine it.
It undermines everything that came before it. So like I understand the choices that they made, and and a lot of times I'll sit here and be like, here's what they should have done. I don't know what they should have done.
Right.
Like, I don't have a
They
better.
probably
like,
did as much as they could.
It's an
Yeah,
impossible task. It's
for sure. Like right
juggling
now,
act.
I feel just like a politician. I'm going to tell you everything that's wrong. I don't have a solution, but man, that other guy.
I think you're right though when you say like they handled everything beautifully, but it is hard to change the tone. It's really hard to switch gears after they're dealing with all this grief and the real life tragedy. I do think they did a really good job with what they were handed. I think it was long. I think you felt the 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think maybe closer to
Was it 240 or 220?
Yeah,
It was
240.
240.
So
241. Not that I was counting.
I think keep it closer to 2 or maybe even 220. I mean, I just think
Tom
that
knows because of how many times he went to the bathroom.
Actually, I didn't pee one time.
Oh,
Dang.
I know. I
you finally got that back installed. Nice.
Yeah, no. The doctor gave me medicine.
Oh,
Your day's coming.
Shut that
promise
urethra
you.
down.
but so I just think like they could have tightened it up a bit. There was, and again, I couldn't exactly pinpoint where, but I think that there were
sure.
a lot of moments where they just dragged a little bit too long. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought the action was good. It was fun. I mean, the introduction, it was Dominique Thorne plays Riri. I agree. I thought she was really good. And so we've got Ironheart now, and you've got...
And she's getting her own show, right? Is she getting a Disney Plus show?
Did you work on anything for that?
I guess
Rick?
Rick's over there like, please don't ask me. Please don't ask me.
No
I thought they announced something.
You know what
for
the look
her.
on his face was, guys? If you ever want to know what you look like when your wife's like, do you think she's cute? Like that's what his face looked like.
Okay, it sounds familiar, but I don't follow all the
I
plan
thought
goes
I
out.
thought that there was something. They put out that 30-year plan and they've got stuff. You're like, what the hell is that?
Let's just say I don't think they introduced her for a one-off movie.
I can tell you,
seems
it is in the news and easily fightable that Ironheart has wrapped shooting.
There we
Okay,
go.
there you
Thank
go.
you. See, that's what we're talking about, Rick. That's
So-
the most diplomatic way to possibly say that.
So they introduce her and she'll be doing her thing, and you're right, she kind of fills that Tony Stark Iron Man void.
Yeah.
But you get her and Okoye, and Lupita Nyong'o comes back and for this one, who had this romantic relationship in the first one with T'Challa, and we find out, spoilers, that
Man, you're going right. You're going to the
I was
mid-credit
gonna
sequence.
hold it for a little bit. Damn.
well, I mean,
No, we might as well put it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason Okoye has been gone and left is because she was pregnant, and now that she has a son, that she has talked to Angela Bassett, and they kind of decided, let's keep him away. Let's keep him away from the throne, keep him away from Wakanda, let him live a normal life. And that's the scene that kicked me in the...
Yeah,
Like,
so
when he-
cards on the table. I cried twice in this movie, and it was the first scene and the very last scene.
I'm with you,
Or
brother.
in between.
I'm with you all day. When the boy walks out and Shuri sees him for the first time, and
Oh my gosh.
and you know as soon as you see his
Yeah.
little head, they're like, okay, we know who this is gonna be. And then when he says what his name is, like his I'm not gonna say like American name, but his not Wakandan name is, something very
Well, it
normal.
wouldn't have. It would not be an American name.
It'd be like a Haitian name.
Haitian
That's his
name.
Haitian name, and then his Wakanda
He says that
name.
my real name is T'Challa, and I was like,
Oh.
God, that's
I meant to look it up. The kid looks a lot like him. They
I
didn't use
thought
one
the
of
same
his real
thing.
kids, did they? I mean, that would have been a real gut punch. I
I
think,
did not.
but
know
they
that
did a
not.
good job of casting because it made me think. I was actually like, oh my gosh, is this
Yeah, he does. He definitely does resemble.
I was honestly wondering if they were doing something
to make him look
to
because,
make with CGI to make him.
because either they did or he looks really close, but they did
Yeah.
a good job with casting. And if it's a real son, then they did a really good job with casting.
Yeah, well done.
Well, it's Chadwick Boseman who gets the credit.
Sure.
Well, at least half the credit.
Half credit. Yeah.
Half
Yeah.
credit. Yeah.
But
Well, if it
yeah,
looks like him, I don't think you can give credit to her.
I mean, she
Like,
did.
He gets the credit for
Oh,
the kid looking
half-
like him.
I guess that's fair. That's fair.
That's
Fair
just
enough.
science,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
that's-
we never purported that we were a science podcast here. So it sets up for the future where we have a T'Challa and an heir to the throne,
Right.
and we can have T'Challa be Black Panther and can set him up with Storm in the future because we don't know Storm yet.
But that's the end. I was gonna touch on that. There are a couple like Marvel comic / MCU flipperoos, right? Because in the comics, I believe that Storm and T'Challa do have a child, and that's who this child is. They just we don't have, like you said, we don't have a Storm yet, so they just substitute Storm for.
Oh, so you think that Nakia is substituted for
I do.
Storm
For now.
because this is set in modern day, so to wait for the kid to grow up, then we'd have to be watching Marvel. It'd be like 2040 before he could be with Storm.
or
I think that's the plan, man.
or
Well-
this kid, this kid is gonna be with Storm.
Well, that's what I just said, but
Yeah.
he's 7, so I mean, we'd have to wait
Rick,
till
are
2040.
we touching on some stuff that you may have already heard?
No. I'm just curious. Did you guys catch that line where our main bad guy said he was a mutant?
Yes,
I did.
I was
That's-
going to say, like, we get
What
the
do you
first
think about that?
usage of
Yeah.
the word mutant in this movie.
That's
well,
great.
didn't they use it in She-Hulk? Didn't they refer to
They did.
somebody as a mutant?
And
They
Miss
did.
Marvel.
Oh, it was Miss Marvel.
because Miss Marvel is a mutant, right? Spoilers. That's so. But yeah, this is the first movie MCU where they say
I
someone's
just
a
didn't know
mutant.
if they threw that word in there, like to mean something. Or
I think they did.
absolutely.
I think they absolutely did.
'Cause
Yeah.
Especially because Namor in the comics is always billed as the first mutant.
The first mutant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Namor now then?
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
Because this has been sort of become a pattern for me in the last 3 or 4 Marvel movies where I kind of want the villain to win.
Well, they are giving
Well,
you compelling villains.
They're doing
That's-
so good at that even halfway through the movie, I'm like, this guy has a point.
Right, for sure. Like, if you look at Black Adam, it's like they're bad guys because they're bad guys and they got to go out and do some bad guy, right? And where in this movie, it's like, yeah, they have points. And even if they're maybe going about achieving their
wrong
goal
way.
in an inappropriate way, but you still understand where they're coming from. I love the idea of using vibranium as like a natural resource that of course people would fight over, right? Because that's what we do. And so I love when they take these silly comic book notions but then treat them as like, well, what would people really do if this stuff
Right,
existed?
right.
That's what they would do, is they would fight over it. You
So
know?
So plot-wise, we find out that the Americans and the French are trying to go after vibranium, basically, that they found under the water. Come to find out, spoilers for later on, but Riri, this college student, Riri Williams, has put together, she's a brilliant scientist, and she's put together a machine that can detect vibranium anywhere. So the government actually
Without
takes,
knowing what she was doing, right?
Right,
She didn't
Yes,
know what it
correct.
was for.
No,
It's like
she
real-
was just doing it. She was.
It's like
collecting
real
the paycheck.
genius, right? She built the space laser. She
That's
didn't-
right, that's
she
right,
didn't
yeah.
know it.
So the
Professor
government-
Hathaway tricked her.
Yeah, so the government basically confiscated it from her college
If only
project.
her thing could fill a house with popcorn, we'd be in business.
Oh, Rick, coming through. Look at that.
Yeah.
So good.
So now the CIA is trying to find vibranium with it. The French have sent mercenaries after them, and so all these people are trying to find vibranium. And come to find out, there's a whole underwater, not Atlantis civilization.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's funny we talk about Marvel and DC having the same characters basically, and I do like how Marvel says, "Okay, you beat us to the punch with your Atlantean king, so we're
In
gonna
the
have
movies,
to pivot.
right.
Yeah, we're gonna have to pivot a little bit." And they, instead of Namor being the king of Atlantis and the king of the seas, they make him from like this Mayan, where I don't did they ever say?
I think
like,
they use the word Mayan.
I think
thought
they
they
did.
the
did, yeah.
Yucatan.
It's definitely more influence. Yeah, right. It's more influenced by the Mayan civilization, which we talked about it, I think, just last episode or a couple ago, that when it comes to the mainstream popularity of these characters, general audiences are looking at the movies. So
Sure.
even if Namor's first, Aquaman beat them to the punch by many years.
And he had
movies.
a massive movie.
So it was a hit. Yeah, like if it would have been like Green Lantern, they'd have been like, we're fine.
But
he could still be the king of Atlantis. Don't worry about it.
But if you come out and you say he's, Namor and he's in Atlantis, I mean, people are going to say that's just a copy
That's exactly
of Aquaman. And so I think they were smart. And I think that the fact that they were able to have that different culture, I think it was great to bring in that side of the culture. And you bring in an actor who is Mexican, I believe. He, to the representation, so you're getting a different side of it there.
It's crazy to think, because this was a character that I thought that Marvel was never gonna get. Like, this is one of those characters that I think was in the Universal deal and just sat there and was just sitting in limbo forever. And when they announced this, I was like, there wasn't, there's all the fanfare. Like, we got the X-Men back, we got the Fantastic Four back, we got Spider-Man. I don't remember ever hearing a word about Namor.
Mutants. He's a mutant.
Yeah, but
it would have been in the Fox deal, I'm sure.
I think he was with Universal.
Huh.
I think Universal had him.
Yeah, because even though he's considered the first mutant, he never really lived in that X-Men world.
Right.
Like,
until recently.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I think, man, the fact that they made the ankle wings work, and the fact that they put him in the green Speedo.
I don't know, that was kind of weird.
It is kind of weird,
but I mean,
but it
comics,
works,
though, right? And so the actor,
yes, he's actually flying, but I'm like, is the physics behind this really?
Yeah, like I don't think that's.
Can you maneuver like that with those tiny wings?
He
Like,
would
how
just
does that
tip
work?
over and conk his head.
but you can't in comic books and superheroes. You can't really. I mean,
No,
how
it is.
does any
It's
of it
one.
work?
It's
How
one
does
of the
Thor
most.
fly with a
But there's
hammer?
some things that
he
there's
throws
some
it.
things that look okay, and
Well,
like that just look weird.
I get it.
Yeah,
Well,
these little wings going.
Yeah.
how would you not make it look? I mean, it is again
Right,
the
yeah.
impossible task. If that's the character from the comics, they could have ditched him, but it's like, well, they made it kind of comic accurate. So, but the actor Tenoch Huerta plays Namor, and he's really good. And I was looking at his IMDb. He's a Mexican actor of Aztec and another origin I can't pronounce, but Aztec.
Hey, I was impressed with you got the name right. I was
Yeah,
like, you were
thank you,
practicing that.
So they're bringing in that representation. I don't know what Puripecha origin. I'm not sure what that is.
I saw a meme that had a picture of Namor and a picture of John Krasinski's Reed Richards.
Yeah.
And the line is like, Sue is absolutely going to leave Reed for Namor. Like, there's no question about. That's a big plot point. Forever in the Fantastic Four comics is that Namor wants him some Sue Storm, and will make no bones about it in front of Reed. Will openly be like, you just come be my queen and we'll hang out, and
Just
but it's
fire it on her, huh?
oh nonstop.
So
Do you guys ever talk about where have these people been all this time?
like actor wise or the characters?
The characters.
Oh yeah,
Well-
like they're just chilling. Yeah.
Well, at least with Namor, they do kind of address that, right? Like they're aware of the upside.
They're sort of doing the same thing Wakanda did, where we're in secret
Yeah.
because we're
Right,
so
low
powerful, but
profile.
we're not ready to open up.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, like, did half of them snap away too? And everyone's like,
That's a great question.
what happened to half of us?
I'm
Then
sure.
5 years later, they all come back.
They all
think
pop
it
back
all
in.
What's
is-
happening out there? We should go
That's a
check
good
on
question.
It's the world's population. I'm sure they did. But yeah, I thought that he was really good. The actor that played Namor, I thought
He
he did
nails that character.
I thought the look was really good. Some people were complaining about the look, and I thought
No.
for a grounded, live action
complaining
version,
about how he looked. He looked fine.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
looked totally fine.
The same people that are going to
Yeah.
rate this a 1 or 0.5 out of 0, whatever they can rate it. But no, the character design I thought was really good. I mean, I agree. The ankle wings. I mean, how do you do that? But I thought for what it was, I thought it worked pretty well for if they were going to do it. I don't know how anyone could do it better than that. Maybe you just don't do it, like Tom was kind of alluding to.
Was Namor always a villain in the comics? You guys help me out.
So
Or was
he's
he kind of
always-
flipped back and forth.
He flips back and
Kind of
forth.
flip.
He's-
Yeah.
Okay.
He
Because
holds
even halfway through this, I was like, I can't tell. Is he supposed to be the bad? Are we fighting him?
So
Or
he
is there
was-
someone else gonna show up here?
he was a World War II guy, so he fought alongside Captain America and the original Human Torch, and during World War II. In the comics, he's actually the one that finds Captain America in the ice. So he always has had a respect for Cap, but for everybody else, he's like, no, man, screw those guys. Like you mouth breathers, like, that's kind of always been his standpoint. He is definitely a hero at times, but other times he is a straight
It seems like they're kind of setting him up to be that still. Like I could see him flipping to a good guy very easily.
Like you can pull him into your side over certain issues. He will, he will team up and fight a common enemy, and then after that, it's back to like go after yourself.
Screw you guys. Yeah.
So
he was part of the Invaders. That was the team that he was on.
So
Cap and all those guys.
A year after T'Challa's death, they go to this like UN type thing, and you've got the Queen of Wakanda, Angela Bassett's Ramonda, is now reinstated as queen, and she does a great job in this movie.
She's so wonderful.
But she says, we've obviously people are coming after our resources. The king has died, but make no mistake, Wakanda is still able to defend itself, and we are not going to take these attacks lightly. So the Americans coming after us. Here's your French mercenaries coming after us.
When she walks him into that. Walks those guys into the meeting room, man, and the
here's
look
your
on
men
the
back.
yes, the look on the French embassy's gal, she was just like, God damn it,
Yeah, that was great.
That was so good.
Yeah, they're not putting up with this crap. But there was this tack. There was a really good fight scene where Okoye and her guard are taking on all these mercenaries. But basically, they're all coming after Wakanda. So this sets up this kind of conflict between everybody in Wakanda. And basically, all these guys coming after the vibranium has now set off this alarm with... do we know the name of the place? Not Atlantis.
It's not Atlantis.
I just can't remember what the name of it is. If someone
that's
wants to...
That's the name of it.
It's not Atlantis.
Not Atlantis.
Actually, what the
I thought it had
starts with an
Namor
N.
in the name.
It doesn't. It's not Namor, but it starts with an N. There's something. Namortopia.
Oh
Nashville.
yeah, Namor Island.
Namor Island.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they're now Namor has obviously been alerted. All these people that were exploring their waters were getting a little too close to discovering their civilization. So they take out all these like SEALs. There's all these army operatives.
It is funny that Marvel has had these two like massive fight sequences on like boats. I think of the scene from Captain America 2 where they fight everybody on a boat, and then I think it's a great introduction of Namor.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
it shows you he's not messing around. His whole
swinging that helicopter around.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not messing around. So now Namor basically infiltrates Wakanda when Shuri and Ramonda are out doing their thing, mourning. It's been a year since T'Challa's passing, and Namor just shows up through the water and is like, "Hey, what up?" And basically says, "We need your help. You have alerted the world to vibranium. Now everyone is coming after it. So because of you, they are coming into our land, and we need to protect ourselves against people." And basically he wants to go on the offensive. He's not going to sit around and wait for them to take over. They're like, yeah, we need to take everyone else out on land. And of course Shuri's like,
well, they come
cool.
to the agreement that like, you bring me the scientist who built the device and we'll call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's it.
Which I don't believe he ever. I mean, his plan was to take out the scientists, but it seems like Namor's real motivations are to go on the offensive and stop. Because I mean, he has her there, and he says, "I'm going to kill Riri," who we find out is the scientist that built the machine. He's got her there,
but really, to what end? I mean, Alexander Graham Bell is dead, but we still have phones.
Right. You think just because she's gone, they're not going to build another one of these?
She's not like a vampire overlord where everything goes poof if you kill the head one.
They successfully kidnap her, and they still build another one.
Yeah, I was like, all they have to do is go to Justin Hammer, and he'll knock one out for him. Don't even worry about it.
That's why I don't know if it was more of a justice type thing or whatever, but they take her, but he's got her there, and he says to Shuri, they also they have a fight sequence that leads them to abducting. Okoye gets knocked out and in the water, and then they take Riri and they take Shuri, and basically Shuri's like, "Hey, I'll stay here, whatever we got to do, like let Riri go," and he's like, "No, I'm gonna kill her," and basically, let me just level with you. We're gonna take out the whole planet.
Well,
like
I think he's basically saying not Atlantis and Wakanda can work together, and we can burn it all down.
Yeah, I mean
And-
that's what he
and
says.
that's-
He's not. Yeah.
No, and that is very much Namor. Like there are moments in the comics where Namor is very much like, no, we're done with the surface world. We're not like you pollute my oceans. You do yada yada yada. It's very kind. Aquaman kind of has a similar standpoint, but
He also said they have more soldiers than there are blades of grass,
what a great
Yeah.
line.
which
what a
I
great
never
line.
really saw materialize.
I think we do
It's
kind of see
also a
that
weird
when,
metaphor for a guy who runs an undersea kingdom. Like, just gonna throw that out there.
we do kind of see that though at the end, right? When the Wakandans are on that boat and they
And
are
they
starting
just
to
keep
get
coming,
overrun.
but-
There are a lot of them, yes, but
Was anyone else thinking what a interesting teaser for Avatar coming out in a month?
I
Okay,
think this is-
same
yeah,
thing.
are
right.
we
I
going to
mean-
talk about that? Did this steal Avatar's thunder?
It's so interesting that you've got Disney, the parent company, who obviously owns Fox and is releasing Avatar
With
next
underwater
month.
blue people.
And right, and the villains, quote unquote, of course. I mean, if they're against Wakanda, they're the villains, even though I know it's questionable. But these forces of underwater blue people, I just thought
Yeah.
it was a really weird timing to release.
They
the
need
two
a
of
way
those.
to pivot all those Avatar rides in Animal Kingdom in case they lose the rights.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
It's all this is about.
They're the Submariner rides now.
Yes.
That's what
Yeah.
they
And
are.
am I crazy, or were they only blue above water?
You are not
You're
crazy. They were
Okay.
only blue
I
above
I
noticed
couldn't
water.
tell. I was like, are they regular?
Which is
underwater?
what the Atlanteans in Marvel Comics are. They are
Okay.
blue. Yeah, they are normally blue. And I was like, I think it's a fun little nod to the comics. At least is you can make them blue and all that good stuff.
It was I noticed the same thing though, because when they were doing the underwater scenes, I actually was having trouble telling which character is which, because I'm like, I think that was the big strong general guy, but he doesn't look blue, and clearly he's blue when you're above water. So I was wondering, like, am I confusing characters? But they turn blue above water. We find out through a flashback from like what the 1500s is.
Yeah.
Namor is that
so
old.
they're basically drinking, which again, like in Black Panther, the first one, right? We know that Killmonger burns all of the flowers.
The heart
there's-
shape herb.
There can be no more, which is kind of a plot point in the very beginning, is that Shuri is trying to recreate the
that
flower,
stuff,
and she can't.
whatever it was.
Whatever
Because if
it
they
will-
had it, they
could save him.
it would cure him. Like the
Yeah.
heart-shaped herb, the thing is, that's their most precious material because it has the power to heal
Right.
whatever ailments you have. And so with Killmonger taking that supply out, that is what essentially leads to T'Challa dying.
Right.
And she just can't,
She can't
synthesize
get
it in
It's
time.
only like 29% or 30% before he passes away.
And this is growing out of the vibranium, right? That's part of.
I think that's always kind of been
lore.
the thing, is like the flowers are growing through like vibranium rich soil.
And that's
so in
what
a way they're ingesting the vibranium, and that's what's giving everyone these powers.
Correct.
Yeah, and so
Correct.
if, flashing forward, basically there's a scene where Namor gives Shuri, as this token of appreciation, respect, whatever, he gives her a bracelet that the mother wore, and they grew whatever the fibers out of the
Yeah.
soil that was
It's kind of it's a brilliant way to have to be able to bring those flowers back in.
It's a neat
without
connection.
without it seeming like, oh, we got to get these flowers back in. They're somewhere else.
right. So she's wearing this thing that she doesn't know, but there's a connection with the heart-shaped herb and the soil that it came from. So she's later able to synthesize her synthetic heart-shaped herb uses the fibers of that bracelet, and it's able to.
T'Challa's DNA and figures it out.
Yeah, but in the flashback though, we see that the settlers came in and killed all the people of their village and
which is also, man,
brought disease, just like the way it happened. And
that's exactly what happens, right? And it gives Namor even more motivation to say F the surface world.
Right. Never trust any of them.
and that's the part
the
where
colonizers.
you're like in his shoes, right?
He's
it's
not
like
wrong.
I mean, if someone
It was the same with Christian Bale in the Thor movie, where I was like,
I
dude,
know.
I kind of want him to team up with Hero and destroy everybody because he's right.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so they drink the vibranium heart-shaped flower, and then in the process it gives them gills, and they can't survive on land anymore, so they retreat to the water, and then they build their own civilization there. They leave this whole tribe of people leave the surface world, and they go build not Atlantis under the water. and Namor actually becomes the firstborn child to not have to drink his mother drank it while she was pregnant, but that isn't why he has powers. Like it's not because of the vibranium. It's because he's a mutant, and so he was born with the wings on his feet and the pointy ears and the strength and all of that stuff. That's all part of his mutant abilities rather than based on the flower, which I think is interesting.
But I'm guessing what she drank, though, did give him some abilities, like being able to breathe underwater.
Yes.
There's some kind of a connection where he had the
unlocks
mutant,
it or something.
Yeah, the mutant gene, right? There's things that unlock it, and so he had the mutant gene, but drinking that...
This is how they do it.
Right?
This is how they bring in mutants.
Yeah.
They're going to... They wouldn't say all of this stuff if this... We know Feige has a plan. Rick knows that Feige has a plan.
We do.
Yeah, so it like the fact that they're saying that Namor was exposed to this stuff, and we know that vibranium has landed in other places now. Now you're opening the door.
So you're saying it's vibranium that's unlocking the mutant ability everywhere.
Interesting.
That's what I...
All right, put Joe on the record as...
All right, we mark it, yeah.
I also said the movies were going to implode after Ant-Man, so maybe don't.
He also said Guardians of the Galaxy was going to be their first major failure.
Right. So maybe don't do that. But so now we're in conflict. I will say that as I'm watching this, I do feel like Angela Bassett should be nominated for Best Supporting Actress. She gives a performance in this movie, for me at least, that is...
Who did you say?
Angela Bassett.
Oh, yeah. So
it is.
Do we get to the scene where she fires at Okoye?
That's what I'm saying. Like this scene here.
So this is basically you're fired. Give me your gun and your badge.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything so intense?
Oh my gosh.
She is full of passion and emotion and rage and like all of those sadness and fear. And you can feel every single one of those emotions coming out of her.
Well, that was the speech out of the trailer too, right?
Oh, was it? I tried to avoid the trailers because I didn't want to get spoiled.
Same. I only usually watch the first one, but that was the one.
Okay.
This one's on another level.
It's phenomenal though. It really is. It's a great scene. And Okoye, I mean, her reaction.
She's also another
Danny
one.
Gurria, she like her facial expression, because she's sitting here taking this verbal.
And she agrees with her.
I mean, but she knows
that she failed.
She failed, right? Because when they go to get Riri from college, and then there's the attack from the Namor villagers and all that, like she loses the princess, and they're just dealing. They're a year ago T'Challa had passed, and now it's Ramonda's only other child, and so she has to come back and be like, I failed.
She is. I know it's silly because this is a comic book movie, but she gives a performance in this flick that is just next level. I mean, I don't think I've seen a performance like this in the MCU yet.
I mean,
this is on another level.
Really
sure. I mean, I think Tony Stark.
WandaVision had some of that stuff in it.
Oh, I could see that for sure.
I think Eternals had some really good stuff in it too. I mean, if you're
it had stuff in it. That's true.
So
I'm thinking the Eternals drum still.
I always will.
Hey man,
I think it's beautiful.
I get it. But I do think that she is on another level. She is an actor.
She's Angela Bassett, right?
Yeah. That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
They cast, when they bring Robert Redford into Marvel, when they bring these actors into Marvel, they don't stop being the incredible actors they were outside. Like, they are elevating this material, which obviously Marvel's really good, but you're bringing in that caliber actor and you're getting these performances.
Exactly.
I think the actors take it more seriously than they used to. I think in the past, this would have been a phone-in paycheck kind of a role, and I think now they realize that, like, oh, if I bring my A game, this will be better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you don't always get that. It was very sporadic as to how seriously a big name actor would take a role in a movie like this. And sometimes you'd get, Marlon Brando in Superman or Alec Guinness in Star Wars, but sometimes, you would get people just pulling a Bruce Willis and phoning it in.
Yeah. Well, earlier, Tom, you were talking about how them hunting this stuff underwater is like so silly. It's just like a superhero thing, but they take it more seriously like, okay, well, let's think about this really. What would it look like?
Yeah.
They've kind of convinced all the actors to do the same thing. Yes,
For
this
sure.
is silly. It's fighting and
Where do you
CGI, but
where do you
making
think
this
that
something.
flips?
These are, yeah, I don't know.
I think
I feel like Marvel's always been going for that. Even
I think the MCU, I really do. I think when you
because
bring
they set
in
it in a real world war, and
Sure.
and you bring in Robert Downey Jr., who I mean,
yes, it's silly, but this is still a universal theme that we're all can relate to, or something that everyone in the world is dealing with. That's what makes it different.
Yeah, and and I think it started with the directors when they got those directors. Obviously, Jon Favreau and Iron Man and everything that was great. But you bring in Kenneth Branagh to do Thor, right? Thor could have been really, really silly live action, and you bring in Branagh and you do it faux Shakespearean, and it elevated the genre. So like from the beginning, they've got the right directors with the vision, and they've turned the properties into these films that they, as silly as they may be on paper, they bring them to live action. You're like, wow, they actually pulled it off.
I wonder if the real kind of message to actors to take it more seriously and that you can make it work if you're a good actor was Heath Ledger is the Joker.
That's a solid point.
Because and your mind immediately goes to like, well, Jack Nicholson's a real actor and he played a Joker, but like. And in no way was Jack Nicholson phoning in that role.
Oh,
but
he was
Jack
incredible.
Nicholson was very much like, I'm in a kid's movie.
Right.
Like, I'm
He's
doing
being a comic book character.
Right. I'm doing a comic book thing, and I'll do Jack Nicholson on 11, but I'm doing a comic book thing, like whatever.
But for the record, Jack Nicholson in Batman is incredible.
Sure, but
I mean,
but
what
it's
he's
not
doing.
necessarily a serious dramatic performance in the same way that what Heath Ledger gave us.
Of course.
And so I think maybe that was the moment that made other people in the acting community
That's totally
go,
legit.
hey, if we take this seriously, like this isn't just quote unquote a comic book movie. Like there is real stuff here if we as actors treat it with the same reverence that we do, dissecting a role in any other kind of film.
Sure.
Well, and Marvel hasn't been afraid of touching on real world topics either.
For sure.
Right? Because you talk about Black Widow is almost too far into sexual assault and exploitation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
What
even
was
the
the-
first Black Panther was all about slavery and racism and
Yeah.
Wasn't there which flick was it when Tony Stark is confronted by the woman in like he gave a speech? Was it Iron Man 3?
He got her son killed.
Her son was
right?
killed. Yeah,
that was
by
the beginning of
Stark
Civil
Tech.
War, wasn't it?
Is that what it was?
But yeah,
That's why he kind of
weapons
goes on the side of the Accords.
Yeah, all the different weapons, and I mean, yeah, and that's the commentary since the beginning, right? I mean, Tony Stark is an arms dealer, or was.
Yeah.
So,
He was,
I mean,
yeah.
That's.
He's the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do like that Tony Stark will forever be a part of this world because Riri's first suit is built from Stark Tech, and it's got I love the fact that it's still got like the same sound effect.
Yeah.
As the Iron Man
you see
suit,
in
like,
her
it's still got
blueprints,
the-
like I was like, she's working on an arc reactor clearly,
Oh, yeah.
and she's so.
I like the throwaway line about how she's like, there's a whole YouTube channel dedicated to sightings of me.
Right. That's funny.
That was pretty good.
Point of information. So Namor is the king of Talokan. So it doesn't sound anything like
Talokan,
Namor.
that's right.
Yeah,
So
you're
it's
right.
Talokan, and which is based on Atlantis and Talokan of Aztec mythology. So
Okay.
they
That's
bring
legit.
in the Aztec mythology, and again bring in that culture and that different side. I think is a lot more interesting than just saying Atlantis, right? So they
you
use
mean like
It
DC
sounds
did?
like a telecommunications company from the 90s. We're Telecon.
So Talokan. So it was just cool that I think that they broadened that culture instead of just going, we're also doing Atlantis. That way it separates from Aquaman and also brings in a new culture and representation.
And I do think it's kind of funny that it sounds like Momoa might be done with Aquaman.
Really?
Why? James Gunn. Well, he can't play two characters. Let's put it that way. And if James Gunn is going to do a Lobo movie, it's going to be Jason Momoa as Lobo.
Oh, he can't be both?
How was that?
They
gonna
make
work?
one movie every 4 years. Why wouldn't they be able to?
I don't know.
It would be weird, though, if they tried to cross him over.
Yeah, they're like, here's Aquaman and Lobo. Though I don't think that would ever be a crossover.
Yeah, that would be a
anybody
weird
asked
one.
for.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
But-
Unless they totally reboot things, I don't think you can bring him. He's too big to play just another.
I got to
Yeah.
tell you,
I don't think you could do that.
If they're doing Lobo, it's gonna be Momoa.
I would bet money they don't, but I mean, never say never. But I just don't know how you have Aquaman is that huge of a character, and you're going to say Jason Momoa is now Lobo. I just don't see any universe where that happens.
And
no
James
way.
Gunn's like, this is what I'm doing. Forget it. You already paid me. I'm writing the movie.
We'll see. We'll see.
So yeah, so now we're in conflict. It's Ramonda has fired Okoye, and then she has enlisted Lupita Nyong'o to come back. Which I was like, man, I was kind of hoping that she was going to be the Black Panther, just because I think she is fun to watch.
She's such a great actor.
She's so
too.
good.
Lupita Nyong'o is so good in everything that she does.
She's so great in this, and I do like that she's even apprehensive. And we just assume that she's apprehensive because she doesn't want to come back.
Yeah, she's done with that world. She's
And
done.
we find out that
She
that's
wants to be
not
a
the
teacher.
case. Yeah, right. And she's happy being a teacher, right? She's happy in her little world.
She is, and now we know. When you look back, look at what she
now
risked.
you understand why.
Right.
But look at the risks she went through, but for her queen and to save Shuri and everything, like she left her son. I mean, not in a bad way, but I mean to save Shuri, she risked dying and not being able to raise him. So.
Can someone explain
Vin
to
Diesel
me?
does that every time.
Well, yeah.
Can someone explain to me how she would learn the language of not Atlantis, this community that
That's a
no
good
one
question.
had ever heard of
Yeah.
I was
10
thinking
minutes
maybe,
previous?
I was thinking that maybe it's just a
I think
more.
it's Spanish.
It wasn't Spanish because there were two different colors. On
Yeah,
the
they had different
subtitles.
colors for the subtitles. So in Wakanda,
And she would switch languages, but there were
was it
people
yellow
above,
and yeah.
there were people above ground who still spoke that language. So I thought maybe it was just a more traditional language.
It must be based on the
I see.
Aztec. I'm guessing that it's based on that
But
language.
I would still think that after all that, after 500 years in an isolated community or 700, it's going to mutate.
I can see. I can see that. Yeah, I think you're just led to believe that when they left when they left to go form Talokan, that they brought the language, just like things evolved from.
Yeah,
It didn't change that much.
Yes, I took it as that she is that good that she could, not that she could read like a book on this language, not the language of Talokan, but
Talokan?
No, we're not doing it.
Talokan, let me rock you, Talokan.
I just kind of think she is that good of an infiltrator and that good of a spy that she can pick up on things like that. But I do agree that like she picked up on that real quick.
Yeah,
it's
real
kind of
quick.
like what do we see? Oh, Black Adam, where he was like, "How did you learn English that fast?"
But
Like,
that's part of his powers.
what?
That's part of his power.
Everyone from Wakanda is really, really smart, guys.
But in Black Adam,
Why is that so hard for you?
You're racist.
sorry. So now, Lupita Nyong'o rescues Riri and Shuri, and they head back.
Takes them home.
Takes them home, and now we are at war. Like, that's now that Namor has basically declared war on Wakanda, and in a ridiculously, amazingly filmed scene,
Blood sequence.
he wipes out Wakanda. Not takes them all out, but it's
Some of
definitely
it, yeah.
sends a message and says, "This is what I can do with a fourth of my power.
Yeah.
Like, if either you give me the scientist, or I am going to drown this entire city, and there's nothing you can do to stop me."
Well, and here's the deal with why I have a problem with when they make these villains anti-heroes and then they try to bring them onto the team. I mean, he murders the queen.
He kills a lot of people.
He does murder the Queen of Wakanda.
You know that innocents died, and he kills the queen. He kills Shuri's mother.
But how many? Okay, I don't disagree, but in fairness, how many deaths is the Stark family responsible for?
Lots.
You're right. It is a
Lots.
similar question.
And there is a truce, right? That at the end of this movie, there's a truce that is made that kind of absolves him from that.
Well, that's kind of the theme of the whole movie is forgiveness.
right.
Yeah, totally.
Instead of revenge. So
Exactly. No, I mean,
maybe
it is
that's
the point they
moment at
make.
the end there where she decides, you know what?
Yeah.
We're done fighting.
No, you're right. That is the point they're trying to make, certainly. And I agree, the forgiveness and not going after revenge and everything. I mean, they're hammering out good points, but I just
But it
on
makes
a
for
human-
boring movies.
True. And on a human level, it's hard. Like, whenever these superheroes fight side by side with the people that murdered their friends and family, but they're reformed. It's just like, I just don't know how. It just makes it really hard, I think, to root for them. With Tony Stark, I get there's a similarity there, but there's also this like indirect, like, he took over his father's company, and Tony Stark didn't go and murder someone in front of them. You know what I mean?
He
Like,
did sell them the Jericho missiles.
It's not good, but you don't connect the dots the same way because it's like we see Namor cause death and destruction, and then if he's just going to team up with the Avengers, it's like, but you just killed all those innocent people. It's just really hard to wrap your head around, I think.
It is true.
Forgiveness is one thing, but like friendship and team up is another, and it's just,
Again, we just need to go back to the Fast and Furious movies because this happens all the time.
Family.
It's just fine.
See?
The villains become the heroes.
That's right. Wait, we have Jason. We have Jason Statham. Well,
right.
We gotta make him a hero. He did murder Han. No, he didn't.
True, but to be fair, did I not have the exact same problem with Fast and Furious and Jason Statham?
Yeah.
Right.
These people just killed his brother. He just killed their friend, supposedly, until they retcon. Like, it's really hard to team up with people that just brutally murdered in cold blood your friends and family. So,
you know when Statham turns in that performance, they're like, God damn it. Now we got to turn him.
We can't
get rid of him now. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's just tough when you end up with good characters and actors attached to them.
Exactly.
That you want to keep them around,
right.
and you want people to cheer with them and vote with them.
So we should say that this entire time, Martin Freeman is back as not a SHIELD agent, but a SHIELD agent,
and has a sort of partner. That's a spoiler, right?
Oh, you mean like a life partner?
Yeah.
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 The big reveal is that Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, who we've seen, I guess we first saw her in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. Is that when we first see her?
Yeah,
and
at the end.
And she's recruiting the Thunderbolts is what she's doing, which is the bad Avengers, basically. Or the Avengers without morals.
They said that...
I thought the Justice Society was the bad Avengers.
That's different. No, that's a different different altogether. Yeah.
What did you guys think about these scenes? At the time, I thought they were kind of fun. And in hindsight, do they add anything to this movie other than set up or something else?
Not really.
I think they're fun. It's one of those things where I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus is so good at being very
She's
nice.
just fun. She's just fun to watch anyways.
She is amazing to watch. And right, if she's the new Nick Fury, she's not dumb. Like the entire time when she is setting Martin Freeman up every step of the way. She's not an idiot.
Right.
So when the reveal happens that she's like, okay, so tell me about the beads. And he's like, what beads? She's like, the ones I planted, you dumbass. Like, come on, what did you think?
He's like, wait, were you going through my nightstand? The Wakanda beads.
Oh, the
Yes.
Wakandan beads.
That's what I thought we were talking about
That's
the
what
whole
we
time,
thought
ma'am.
we meant.
So he tipped off Shuri about Riri, and then she puts him in jail for treason.
Yeah, I mean, she's not wrong though.
I mean,
he did commit treason.
He owes them his life, so he felt obligated to help them out. But it is against national interest, even if the national interest isn't good. Like even if they're trying to get vibranium for weapons and stuff, it's like, well, that's the law. So.
That's the law.
Yeah.
But I think setting her up as now we know just how powerful she is.
Yeah.
So when the Thunderbolts happen,
Well, we're getting Secret Invasion first, right?
and that'll be the Nick Fury centered one.
Right, but
No,
Martin Freeman's in that.
Yes. But I don't know if it's going to follow the storyline from the comics, which is that half of the Marvel heroes that we knew were Skrulls.
Yeah.
So that's...
They did say that Valentina was his ex-wife, right? They used to be
Yes.
married. That
Right.
was
Yes.
Okay, so we didn't know that. That was a weird connection.
So in the comic
And
books, she's Nick
importantly-
Fury's ex-wife.
And importantly, we find out that apparently he owns a Peloton.
That is
Right.
I thought of you immediately.
Yeah.
very important to one of us here.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe I'll come over and hop on your Peloton. You know what I mean?
I was like, oh, okay, product placement. Check. Got it. So, yeah, that's
That was not a product placement. They were unaware.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, dang.
We
so that's a
told
little so that's a little like subplot that's going on that doesn't really go anywhere, but it does kind of give her a little bit more to do because she has been the Nick Fury style character since Winter Soldier or Captain America and the Winter Soldier, building that team up.
I did really enjoy the Okoye and Martin Freeman, their little
they're
back
great.
and forth banter and her saving him and everything. I mean, I enjoyed that part, but plot-wise, I mean, it wasn't a huge addition to the film.
I think that's maybe a Marvel special edition that could have been,
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Werewolf by Night is amazing. Go watch it. It's great.
So Namor says you got a week. Like, join us or burn. That's it. So we're taking on the land world. You guys can team up with us, or Wakanda is going to be the first to go. And he's saying this as, Ramonda's face down in the water
Face
over
down
here.
in the water, yeah.
I mean, she drowned trying to save Riri, or was it Riri? Yeah, Riri was in the place where the Wakanda floods, and then she uses her last strength, I guess, to swim up and to put her, above the water, and she ends up dying. And so now, they're mourning the death of T'Challa from just a year ago, and now Shuri has no one left. It's her, and
she's in the exact same position that Angela Bassett had just described, right?
Right.
Like, she's lost everything.
Right. So, she has nothing.
And by the way, we are now halfway through the movie.
Well, we'll breeze through most of this.
I just mean what we were talking about, how it does
it's
drag.
long. It's long for sure.
Here's how we do this, and then they win. Okay, coming up next week.
Next week we'll talk to you about the new Ralph Fiennes movie.
But basically, they set up a trap for Namor.
Well, first we got to say that Riri figures, or not Riri, but Shuri figures out that
they end up creating.
They create
serum, whatever super soldier serum,
the super
purple.
soldier serum. Yeah, right. They figure out that the vines in this bracelet that Namor gave to Shuri has the same properties. So she, sciences her way and figures it out. And she takes I think this is one of the best cameos in the MCU. When the Black Panther takes the serum, he.
This is the second Michael B. Jordan cameo in a year, right?
What
was he in before? Are you sure this has been released? Oh, in a different. Okay, sorry.
Oh,
I'm like, are you sure you haven't seen something that we haven't seen? I don't remember.
I was like, oh God, cut that out.
Yeah.
I seriously thought in that moment, what are we about to do?
I thought the same thing.
I will say
thought they might do it, man.
I thought they might.
In Space Jam 2, which did we cover that?
We did.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Okay. Horrible movie. I thought maybe that was the best part of the entire movie. If there was
that was
anything,
a great
when
great
they
scene.
go, when you think it's going to be Michael Jordan and it's Michael B. Jordan, that was about the only clever thing that movie did. So anyway, but
I agree though, Rick. There's a moment where the Black Panther sees the one person that's going to set them on the right course.
Right.
And
Shuri's overwhelmed with anger and wants revenge, and so she doesn't see who we thought. I mean, you would think maybe she's going to see T'Challa somehow. Maybe
that's what we're saying. I
thought
like, we might be doing this. Like, we're going to bring him back.
Knowing how Marvel loves that de-aging tech and deep fakes and all that stuff, I
thought
like,
they
maybe
were holding it because we didn't see him. Even the mention of his death, everything was off screen. I thought, are they holding the last footage or whatever for this moment? But then it was like more likely maybe it's going to be her mom. But no, it's Killmonger.
No, it's
and
Killmonger.
I think because she has this rage
so
and passion, she wants revenge, and so she ends up seeing him, and he's
great.
He gives a performance.
Dude, he's still so good.
I love him in that first movie. I think, and that's another one, right? That's the villain where you're like, I mean, he's not wrong.
You did kill his dad.
I mean, and you left him, right? Like T'Chaka could have came and adopted him, brought him to Wakanda. I mean, this is what he's so mad about. And no, he leaves him to out to dry. And so like you get the motivation again, like we said with all these villains, Thanos, whatever, they're going about it the wrong way. You can't go murder innocent people, but their motivation, you understand why the character's angry and you understand where they're coming from, and it makes them interesting, complex characters.
I do like the line that he has where, I mean, Killmonger basically says, your brother brought the man that murdered your father to live on Wakanda, that murdered T'Chaka and lived here. I was like, oh yeah, he did live there. I forgot about that. That's totally
the
right.
other one where it's just like, yeah, I mean, we all love Bucky, but it's like, but he was brainwashed, so I guess you get it. It's a little bit different.
He did murder the Starks and the King of Wakanda, but
But the brainwashing.
He's the leader of the Thunderbolts now. Cool.
Yeah. But
it's at the very least a red flag.
Yeah. Big time. And she comes back and she's pissed and she's angry and she doesn't think that it worked, and then she throws something across the room and everybody in the room's like, well, I think it worked. And the scene that I thought was super interesting is she's looking at, I guess that was definitely T'Challa's helmet and T'Chaka's helmet,
Yeah, you've got the
and
two
she
Black
walks
Panthers.
past it and picks up Killmonger's helmet. And I was like, oh damn.
Did?
Oh,
Like,
was it?
I thought she
that was.
synthesized her own.
I thought it was
No.
one for her.
yeah.
That was there. She does make her own, but she
Okay.
doesn't touch T'Chaka's or T'Challa's. She picks up Killmonger's,
Really?
and then if you look
it
at the
changes it with the beads and stuff.
yes, if you look at the
Oh.
colors of her suit,
He was a black and gold one, wasn't he?
he was black and gold, and there was definitely more like jagged
Ah.
teeth and like more of a fierce look.
I didn't pick up on that, but you're right. I
Yeah,
remember
neither did
now
I.
that he had the black and gold color.
Yeah,
and that is what she
and now
adopts.
and then
yeah.
you look at her suit, and it doesn't
Okay.
have like the fangs or the fierceness on the in the teeth or whatever, but it does have sharper edges and
Yeah.
gold in there. I was like, oh, what a crazy move if they make her like the villain.
Yeah.
More like, and she is more like Killmonger the entire time up until
But she's
the
driven
moment
by
she doesn't.
she's driven
kill
by
him.
rage
Doesn't
and
kill
revenge,
Namor.
as opposed, and that's what she has to learn by the end is the forgiveness. That's the whole thing. Is she ends up with spoilers a spear at Namor's throat. She could kill him, but obviously that's not the path that they're going to send her down.
No,
and
she offers him a truce,
Yeah.
and I think, and, she becomes the Black Panther.
They set them up. They bring another, I guess, Riri made another vibranium detector, and they think, oh, they're at it again, coming for our vibranium. But
And
it's
now they set
actually
them
the
up.
Wakandans, and they're all on a huge ship, and they're there to lure Namor out. And Shuri, as Black Panther, basically takes him to the driest.
She puts him in a ship and sucks all the moisture out, and weakens him. Basically,
Yeah.
he can't get.
So
Well, now,
my question
that's-
was, yeah,
Congrats to your future husband.
whose idea was it to drive a boat out into the middle of the ocean and fight ocean people?
I did
on
think
top of
that.
the
I was
boat?
like, that seems kind
Like
of
at the very worst, you're just gonna
counterproductive.
kick them off, and they're gonna land. And they're
I
gonna
think it
climb
was
back.
the yeah, no, I mean obviously they went into their territory, which gives them the advantage. I think it was the only way to lure them out though, because they can't go down to them where they have this massive army, and the only way to bring them up was to pretend like they were drilling the vibranium.
I've seen Wakandan flying ships before. They could have just floated them all over to the desert. Or
Yeah.
something.
No, I mean
yeah,
you
it's-
bring valid points, but anyway, so their weapons are all made of vibranium, which is
Yeah.
one reason why these
This is
Namor's people are so
difficult.
strong, and he's
Yeah.
able to get right through her ship, and he deactivates the whatever thing that was keeping him depowered, and then basically crashes the ship, and she ends up bringing him to the desert though, where it's still very dry. And
Did you guys catch, by the way, the way they were trying to suck his powers out was the heat, right?
Yes.
yeah,
And
Yes.
earlier in the scene when they were kidnapping Riri, she was like, "What are you gonna kill him with? A heater?"
oh, that's
What did
funny.
I
That- nice callback. I didn't.
Well, that's
even
pretty
realize
good.
that.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
That was
But
not
so-
me. That's from Reddit, but
Oh, okay.
I'm not that smart.
But they're on the desert fighting, and he pretty much has her dead to rights. I guess the only
I mean,
thing
he
I've
stabs her. Like,
I mean, to me, it seemed like he had the upper hand. He had her, again, dead to rights. The spear is through her side. And they did this thing where, in movies where the good guy overcomes things. And it just, I don't know, to me, it felt a little cheap where she's just like, oh, yeah, let me just slice this off. Let me pull myself off the spear. I mean,
Yeah, she's been impaled. Like
Yeah.
that's
the only thing I could think is like the suit.
Right, is healing her
Is
with
doing
its
its-
nanotechnology, at least
Yes.
patching her up a little bit.
I just
Right,
wish
that's
they didn't
kind of
put
what
her
I
in that
thought.
losing position. We know they're not going to kill her off. so
Also, put some blood on that spear. Let's not
that's
be-
the thing. There's
It's
no-
PG-13, man.
I know,
no
man.
blood
I
in
totally
this
hear you.
entire-
There's no red blood inside the Black Panther anyway.
Yeah.
It's purple.
Oh yeah, right. Sure,
But they're
sure, sure.
spearing people. They're killing them. The Wakandans, the Namor's people. Again, I don't know what the people are called, but his army.
Talocanians.
Yeah, they are killing people in this
Yeah.
fight, and you never see blood in the whole thing. And it is weird seeing someone impaled like that, though, without a drop of anything. But I mean,
The one
get
thing
why
we
they
didn't
do
talk
it,
about
but-
is Winston Duke
Oh,
returning
M'Baku?
as M'Baku.
He's so good.
Who's
I love
kind of
him.
like the consigliere to Shuri at this point. But the scene that gives you an idea of how strong Namor is M'Baku is just like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go kill the fish guy, and he uses his weapon and it breaks over the back of Namor, and Namor doesn't flinch, and he just
punches
turns
through his armor. And
yeah,
like
which I think
sends
is
him-
such a great scene. And it's funny, we kind of bagged on Black Adam about the slow-mo action sequences, and I was like, there's a lot of that in this movie, but it's way better done here. Like it's not as egregious, but he does. And I think Ryan Coogler maybe even said like he's stronger or as strong as the Hulk and Thor, which makes sense. Like the reason Aquaman is as strong and bulletproof as he is because he lives on the bottom of the ocean, and his skin is stronger.
Have you seen those weird fish that live on the bottom of the ocean? Like, if you're going to survive
the anglerfish, yeah, those are weird.
You got to be pretty.
But he's saying that like that's why he's as strong as he is because of the
pressure he lives under.
Yeah.
We all live under pressure, though. Think how strong Freddie Mercury must be in the Marvel universe.
That's great. Right. Same joke. That's so good. Not Vanilla Ice though, because he ripped it off.
But so Namor, he's.
I think I gotta jump because I have to still finish packing and then check out and catch a flight. So
sure.
Do it.
So I didn't want to just disappear on you. I'm sure I'll be missed.
Thank you.
Rick, it was nice meeting you.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Thanks so much.
Enjoy your
Zoomophonically. Yeah. No, because I at least acknowledged it. I could have just went like leave.
Yeah. See. Bye.
See.
Cool.
Have a good flight.
Thanks. See you later.
Be safe.
So basically, Namor is depowered, like we said. Shuri she finds the strength. She pulls herself off the spear, and she's got Namor dead to rights. She's got a spear pointed at his throat, and
she's got him.
Can kill him, and you see a flash. This was weird because I go, are we in a simulation? The way they reverse things was a very weird choice. They do flashbacks
when
in
they
movies,
play everything back,
but they played it backwards. I've never seen. You see tons of movies, right, where they play back things you've seen in a forward-moving regular motion. Why did they reverse the flashbacks?
Kevin, that was my movie.
What's that?
Did you guys watched mine? Remember, we're gonna talk about
did.
that later.
Yeah.
I did the same thing, and when I saw it in Black Panther, I was like, "Dang!"
But what
Came
was
out 3 weeks before.
But what was this? But what was the storytelling reason? Because to me, when you reverse something, I go, "Is this a simulation? Is she making a decision that would lead to war, and she's going to choose a different path?" Like, I need to understand the story reasons for doing it, and you may have. Different people may have different reasons for that technique, but I did not understand the choice in Black Panther.
I have to watch it. I have to watch it again to see because, I'm
they
not sure.
undid
I
the
have an answer for you.
destruction because I guess maybe it was just an interesting choice, like rather than seeing. But they show all the destruction.
Yeah,
she's trying
they
to
do.
play
You're
back
right.
what Namor
everything
did.
is. Superman won it.
She undid it, right? But it wasn't really. It was just her memories in reverse. And I thought, what a weird way to remember the things that have happened because she can't undo it.
I wonder if it was a way to get back to T'Challa because he's the last thing that she sees, right?
Yeah. Maybe it's a way to show them moving back, but I don't know. I didn't understand the choice. But again, it could have just been an artistic choice that wasn't actually
maybe.
trying to like plot wise. Because I think But when I watched it though, I go, oh my gosh, everything we just watched, all the death, all the war, it's not real. Like they just
that would have been like the biggest fu to the film watcher if all of a sudden they're like, by the way, everything you just watched, all that emotion you just put into that doesn't exist.
I mean, it wouldn't undermine everything, but if she had to make a choice and it went back to the point where she had to go down a different path, is she going to be Killmonger? Is she going to be?
Well, then we do see. Yeah, I guess that's true. But then we do see Angela Bassett. She does have another a Panther vision, and it's Angela Bassett, and she gives her the talk, and this is where Shuri says, "Look, to Namor, you yield right now." And Wakanda will do everything we can to keep you safe. We're not going to attack you. We're on the same page. And he yields. And I will say there's a moment where he does say Imperious Rex, which I was like, that's pretty dope because that's his little catchphrase in the comics. Like that's his call to arms, basically, when it's about to get real for Namor. And when he says it here, I was like, and it was understated, like it's under his breath.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty good. And just as the Wakandans who are, the not Atlanteans have killed all of the Wakandans except for the ones that we know.
Okoye's army has these pretty dope suits that Shuri was designing throughout
That's
the
true.
film.
Yeah.
And they give them super strength and they're kind of like Iron Man-esque, they're flying around and they're pretty cool looking armor. And I think Okoye is pretty hesitant. We see her with different
she doesn't like it.
electricity daggers and things. They want the spear. They all get the spear when they join this army. It's a big ritualistic type thing. And they have their ways. And so she's more set in those ways and doesn't want all the technology. But to fight these Talakians, whatever we're calling them, to fight the army, they have to step it up, and so they eventually bring out those suits, and Ironheart's there fighting
in her not Iron Man suit, which I thought was pretty great. So then they
call
yield.
it off. Yeah.
They call it off, and everything kind of is okay, right? They're rebuilding Wakanda.
So this was an interesting ending, though, because I thought, man, she's putting a lot of trust in this guy who seems
That's true.
fine. You know, like they show up on the plane, like standing next to each other. Hey, we just had a fight to the death, and
She
we're both
did.
alive. But
She
hey,
had this
guys,
dagger
stop
to my
fighting
throat
because we have reached an agreement.
It's always a weird thing whenever the hero lets the villain, so to speak, if we're putting him in those terms, live, right? Because
And not put them in jail or something.
That's what I'm saying, right? And that was the same thing I said. Like, it's one thing to not kill the person because our heroes don't kill people, right? That they need to face justice, they need to be in prison, they need to answer for their crimes. But when you just let them go and you're like seeing they're going to team up someday, it's just weird that they don't have to actually answer.
The more I
for their
thought about it,
crimes.
though, I kind of liked it because it sort of speaks to the character of Namor, that he really is trustworthy like this. He has a word that he gives and he honors that. And he even goes down to the people, his people later, and he says, look, I made a decision that day and this is going to be better for us. I have my reasons.
I'll tell you, Namora is not happy with it.
Yeah. Well, so I think once he explains, he's like, look, I bend the knee to Wakanda, but there's going to come a point where they're going to need us because now they have opened the door to the surface world. They know that all of this exists, and the humans are not going to stop. And there's going to come a point when Wakanda's going to come to us for help, and then we've got them.
But what's his end game? He just still kind of seemed kind of villainous, right?
I still like his character though, because
no, I agree.
He's not in this just to fight. He has reasons, and he could very easily turn on somebody. But now, at least, I take him at his word that he'll
honor the agreement for now.
Yeah, his agreement.
I agree. There is just something about when he's painting and Namora comes in all mad. I can't believe you did this, whatever. And he's like, "Oh, they'll need us." There's something a little mustache twirling about that, and I just can't quite
but
get
that's
a read
Namor.
on.
That's Namor, right? Namor.
You're right.
His main focus, his main goal is to protect the water.
Yeah,
that's his goal, and he will. And sometimes his people, and sometimes he will do what he needs to do to get to that end game.
Clearly.
If striking a deal with Wakanda to keep his people safe is what he needs to do, then he'll do it. But that does not mean Wakanda is out of the frying pan yet.
Right.
So there is no post-credit sequence. There is a mid-credit sequence.
Oh, you guys sat and watched the whole thing, though.
I did.
Right?
God damn
so
it.
did I. Our whole theater did. And then nothing comes up.
No, the Black Panther will return. I was like, come on!
I looked it up before, and I had to go pick up my son for school, so we were like really close on time. So like I had to bolt, so I looked it up. Usually I stay, but I was like, is there no? And they said it because the after credit scene is always the comedy scene. The mid credit is setting up.
I
guess that you can't really do
with
that.
the tone.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
so that's what we talked about earlier. It's T'Challa has a son.
Yeah. So. Shuri goes to Haiti to finish the ceremonies. We're a year later, and one of the ceremonies that is referenced is you burn the ritual outfit that you wore to your loved one's funeral a year later as a way of closure. And Shuri wouldn't burn the one she wore to T'Challa's funeral. So here we are at Haiti, in Haiti. We've got Lupita Nyong'o and Nakia, thank you, and Shuri. And Shuri's like, let me do it by myself. And Nakia says, okay. So she's out there burning it, and then Nakia sits down, and this is the reveal, right? Is that here comes this little boy, and same deal. As soon as he walks up, you're like, I know who that is.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I know exactly who that is.
I want you to meet your aunt.
I just want you to say it out loud. Let me hear it.
Just say it. Please just say it. And the kid gives a killer line read. Like, he's just like, he's very sweet and he's very earnest. And I think he says that, she's like, you've got this is your Aunt Shuri. And she's like, oh, you've got a cool name. And he says his name, and he's like, but that's not my name. And then he says his name is T'Challa. And I was
that's when my theater had some applause and some cheers.
Oh yeah. There was definitely an odd, you could hear people starting to cheer, but then it went right back down. It was very quick. And you know, like we said, Marvel said we're not going to recast Chadwick Boseman. So now they've got.
That's a smart way to not recast.
It's a brilliant way to not to. You still got a T'Challa. Yeah. You can still tell Black Panther stories. You could set
15 years from now.
Bingo. And you've got a 25-year-old.
We're in real time.
We're almost in real time, right? They fast forward a little bit, but they're pretty close. And for this to be such a young kid, I just don't know how they're gonna.
They can do whatever they want. They could say Black Panther. I mean, Shuri's the Black Panther for now, and then Black Panther 3 is set 20 years later.
I know, but then you're 20 years later. I'm just saying with the timelines and everything moving together pretty close to real time, in order to bring him in, you're going to either
look at what's on the schedule. Is there a Black Panther 3 on the schedule already?
No,
because if not, we might be waiting 10 or 12 years anyways.
Right. And that's how it ends. I think this is one of my top 5 Marvel movies. Like
I enjoyed it.
I think this is fantastic.
I think they took a lot of risks doing a movie like this, not just hammering you with the action. They deal with grief and loss, and they live in that. And the characters, it's downbeat. They're going through it, but it's also relatable. And I think that they took a big risk in making a big blockbuster like this, and I think it paid off. I give them credit for their ambition with making something so different, and I think given the circumstances, they did a really great job.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I like this one quite as much as the first Black Panther.
No, I'm in the same boat. Yeah.
But I think a big reason was because your 2 leads in that movie aren't here. Yeah. And it makes a huge difference. The charisma that they bring and the roles that they bring.
Yeah.
It is
and
interesting.
You couldn't have made it any other way, but you're just not going to have them back.
I think this is like the movie that you go, that was really good, and I don't need to watch that again, right? Like I thought this was really good, but it's not a fun enough movie where I'm always going to want to watch Black Panther 2, where the first one, I think you can get more of a rewatch. It's just, this is the type of movie that just isn't, you know what I'm saying? It's not, I'm not saying that it has.
I gotta respectfully disagree. I think this is.
That's fine.
Maybe not like. I'm not going to come back to this one as often as I come back to Civil War or.
That's what I'm saying. I just don't think it has the rewatch value.
Oh, I think it does.
There's really good movies that you don't watch every year. You know what I mean?
Fair.
It's just, again, the movie's really good and they did a great job with it, but I think that it just doesn't have that rewatch value that Marvel movies generally do, where you throw it on because they're fun, right? It's this movie has some fun in it, but because it's so downbeat, because it has to be.
Do you rewatch the Eternals?
I would rewatch the Eternals. I haven't.
But the Eternals is not fun. There's no fun in that movie at all.
I mean, you make it fun in that one.
You make it. I mean, I can definitely see the similarities. I do think it's more fun than this one, but
I hear you. But Kevin, what you're saying is the same thing I brought up earlier. Where, dude, this movie was fantastic, but you're comparing it to even more fantastic movies. It's just so hard.
Yeah, agreed. But they did a great job, really. Ryan Coogler is a hell of a director.
Oh, man.
And you didn't mention earlier, you mentioned like, you have to deal with the passing and comparing it to James Wan and dealing with Paul Walker's death. You also didn't mention you've got the death of Chadwick Boseman, you've got COVID, and then you've got Latita Wright getting injured. I mean, Ryan Coogler. I mean,
that wasn't the only issue.
Some Twitter issues there.
Yeah.
Well, right. But I mean, but seriously, he is facing an uphill battle with this one, and
big time,
huge uphill battle. And the fact that it came out and was handled so beautifully, again, all the respect and admiration. Ryan Coogler is a brilliant director, and
I agree. What's their next thing? Do they have something? Oh, it is Ant-Man. This
is the end of Phase 4, right?
This is the end of Phase 4.
And there's no Avengers or anything, so it's just starts Phase 5, I guess.
So Phase 5, I guess that makes sense because that is definitely heavy with Kang and the whole shebang, which I have not watched any of those trailers until I saw the one at the beginning of this one, and I was like, what a crazy tonal shift that series has had. It's, I mean, and in the best, I love Paul Rudd. I think that movie looks a lot of fun, but I don't know what it is going to be.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean,
anytime Michelle Pfeiffer's on the big screen, I'm in.
But at this point, Joe, I think you better keep your reservations of, well, this could be the one. I think
I've given up, man. Like they're just like, hey, we're gonna do Werewolf by Night.
Yeah,
and it's gonna work.
It's all gonna work.
It's all gonna work.
We
Don't even
got the holiday special coming up. I mean, I just can tell you right now that's gonna work. I mean, it's just,
of course
I haven't seen it, but I just know it's gonna work. Guardians
Kevin
3.
Bacon, baby.
Oh, it's good stuff
Can't go
coming
wrong.
up. So,
speaking of coming up,
yeah. So let's talk about the movie that you just directed, Rick. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, this is sort of why I talk to you guys, because I'm trying to get it out there a little bit. But
Oh, wait a minute. You didn't just come on because you love us. You have something to push. Oh.
I do, but I'm always trying to synthesize. Like, what can I do?
No, tell us about it.
So this was always a bucket list item for me. Was just I want to direct something. So we did it. If you're into low budget or even micro budget movies and listen to that kind of stuff, you hear the advice that gets thrown around all the time is just do it, just make it. Don't wait for anybody else to do it for you. So that's what we did, and we shot at 2 miles from my house and 30 miles from where all these huge movies are shot.
Did you just leave the door of the Marvel Studios unlocked and come in and use the set at night or something?
Man, I can't tell you how many times I've thought, they have all this space right here and I'm friends with so many of these people. What if I could just get in there?
They've got this huge 360-degree screen I can put any backgrounds on.
Pinewood Studios, you probably don't know this. Well, actually it was renamed to Trilla Studios, but when it was built right next to a school, which was only used like an elementary school, which was only open for a year or two. And then they took over the school and turned it into production offices. But it still looks like a school. Okay. It's like hallways and the urinals are down to your ankles because they're for little kids. And the water fountains you got to lean over and drink from.
Right.
And a bunch of the Spider-Man school stuff is shot in that school.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
that's fun.
Even though it's like a studio, there's still other things there that's
hilarious.
Play for other things,
lockers and such, down the hallway.
I've thought about that before. Could I at least get in the production offices?
Right, that's funny. So tell us about your film.
But this is a movie. It's called Solid Rock Trust, and we were talking a little bit about before we started recording. But obviously, I had a budget, and I wrote this with a budget in mind because so many of the movies that I edit. I'm an assistant editor for Marvel, but I edit, on the side for other features because I'm interested in that kind of thing. Yeah. So many of them, I think, fail when it comes to their production quality because they're trying to do locations like all the other movies and huge casts like all the other movies, and they just don't have the money to do that. So my idea was, what if we took that same budget and made it look like an independent movie instead of a micro budget movie, which is what a lot of those end up looking like. And so I wrote this thing to take place in one room. It's a bank heist. It's a drama. It's a thriller. I got all that in there, except we kind of stick to that place. And it is a genre movie, right? So it's a bank heist genre. And if you like those kind of movies, you're going to see all the points that you hit in those movies. Double crossings and romantic scenes and gunfire and all that stuff. Except the trick here is we're only hearing it over the phone because we're with the woman in the chair for the whole movie, and she's orchestrating this whole thing.
You know what it reminded me of now? What's the one that they just remade with Jake Gyllenhaal? Did you watch that one?
Yeah. I watched that after I was done with this one. I mean, I saw the trailer for that. I thought, I'm making this movie right now.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say
it's totally the same thing.
But he's a phone operator for 911, or he's a cop that gets put on the phone and has to talk through these things going on. And so you've seen these movies get made recently, and on paper, sometimes you're like, how will that work? But when you have the writing that works like it does in your film, when you have the writing and the characters that are saying the right things that can paint the picture, but then also equally important, not only is what you're hearing the characters say, but the person on the receiving end, like your lead actor who has to take all this information and react to it, right? If you don't have the person that is the caliber that can do that, and you've seen some really big actors do it. You've seen Tom Hardy in Locke. You've seen Jake Gyllenhaal in the Norwegian remake of the Norwegian movie. I can't think of the name of the movie for some reason. But you've seen these big name actors do it.
I think it was called The Guilty. And then there was another one Ryan Reynolds was in.
Ryan Reynolds
Buried, where it's just him in a coffin.
Man, that one there, boy. Woo.
Same thing. You tell people this whole movie takes place in a coffin. You're like, how though? You can't do a movie that way.
And then you watch it, you're like, oh, that's how.
But you can. You know,
You
Yeah.
can, and so the point is though, you listen to those movies, and I think the reason why they get sold is because people are like, how do you do that? And they're like, oh, we'll get this big actor, and you have to have a really good actor to do it. So they only work if your lead is compelling and able to handle that. And what is the name of your lead actor?
so her name's Coco Marshall.
Okay,
She kills it, man.
she does a really good job.
So you hit the nail on the head because I mean, I even knew going into this is going to be a tough sell because how can you watch a movie in one room? So in the script phase, I was throwing everything I could at it, you know, with plot twists and interesting things happening on the other end. And then one of the things I put in was that this woman would have a bunch of different accents, and
That's kind of brilliant.
whoever she's talking to, she's playing a different person to them. So none of them know they're talking to all the
Which
same
was really
Yeah.
a brilliant thing. I've never seen in a heist movie where the person, for like, call it plausible deniability or whatever, like, so that each person doesn't have so much information to implicate the others that would
Right.
actually mislead on purpose, and that way, not in like I'm going to steal all your money and screw you over way, but for the deniability.
In case anybody gets caught, and they're just like, oh, I was talking to a Russian gal. I was talking to a British gal.
Right.
I mean,
exactly.
That is a really unique idea. Did you get that from anywhere, or was that your
Oh, no,
like?
no, I was
That
just
was-
thinking, what could we do to pump this up and
Yeah.
make it more interesting? Because we're just going to be watching her.
Mhm.
So what could we do that would make an actress, you know, want to do this part and would be interesting for us to keep an eye on? So we went on this hunt for someone who we could afford, obviously, but who had this skill, right?
Does she know different languages, or is she just good at accents?
Yeah, so she came into the audition, and I looked at her demo reel,
Yeah.
and she just knows all these accents, and she speaks
Okay.
4 languages.
That's awesome.
She's
Okay.
incredible. And in fact, I had less accents in the script, and then she started bringing them to
Oh.
me and was
She's
like,
like,
hey,
"Hey,
could I do this accent for this part and this
Can
accent
you-
for
can
this
you
part?"
throw,
And I
like,
said,
6
yeah,
more-
please.
Can you
'Cause we
throw
can do
6
as
more
many as you
phones?
want.
Can you
No,
throw
that's-
6 more phones on that desk there? Because I got some
Oh,
accents for
I
you,
can't
buddy.
write all these people. No.
And so far, literally everyone who's talked to me about it afterwards is like, man, she is so good and her accents are so believable.
That's what I was impressed. I'm like, well, this is someone that obviously he found someone that can do accents. You didn't find just a good actor and you're like, hey, I
Right.
need you to learn these. Like, she had the skill.
No, that was
clearly.
part of it going in. I was like, I know I'm looking for somebody who I'm going to enjoy watching on screen for this whole
Yeah.
time, and somebody who can do this in a way that's believable, you know,
Yeah.
because you also don't want it to be bad. And then you're like, she can't really.
Well,
I don't buy this.
and another movie that I'm thinking of, like 10 Cloverfield Lane, that all takes place in the same
Yeah,
bunker.
yeah.
Right.
The movie Room, right, for most of the time
yeah,
is in
totally.
a room. So and look at the actors involved: John Goodman, Brie Larson. Like,
Right.
So she's walking amongst giants in these type of films. Like, you have to have an actor that's high caliber, and she does a really great job with it. And so the concept is really unique, and like you said, you might think, how can that work? How can you possibly do that? But we've just rattled off a whole bunch that are really good, and
Right.
it just shows you the concept can work with the right writing and the right actors. And it's interesting. It's almost like whenever you do a movie like this, or like The Guilty and those, it's almost like an audio drama brought to life, because you're
Yeah,
listening
exactly.
to a lot of it,
Right.
but you get
So much of it is your imagination, and you're picturing what is happening on the
I will say, there's a certain point in your movie that, as I'm watching it, I was like, oh my God, like my blood would be boiling. I think you know what I'm talking about. Just
hopefully
having
a couple times.
there are, but there's one in particular where it's just like, all you can do is listen to it and hope for the
yeah.
best.
Yeah.
And, try
man.
to play
That was
it off.
part of it too. Was it's sort of an experiment in, you know, when you're sitting watching these movies, any action movie safely from your seat, you're still connected to those people and you're worried about them.
Yeah.
But this is one step even further removed, because you're worried about her worrying about them.
Right.
And is
Right.
that still going to work? Right? Do
Yes.
you care when you hear terrible things happening to someone you've never even seen before? You only
The
know
answer
their
is
voice?
yes.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool concept, and it's cool to take a bank heist to be listening to it in this way. It's just, I've never had a movie where usually you see the bank heist and you think
Right.
of Heat, or you think of Dog Day Afternoon, all these things, like you said, that you've added to the script that are some of the elements, but we've never had it described in this way and listened in on it. But with
We play with that a little too in the dialogue at the beginning, where she's talking about, you're not even here with us, you're over there.
Yeah.
And she says
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like, I've seen it all before. And
Yeah.
that was my message to the audience. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
we know you've seen this all before, but
you do
we
a
can
good
do
job.
it in a different way.
Yeah, with the sound mixing and and you hear gunfire at certain points. Like, I'm not going to spoil the plot, but you do hear some of that stuff. And I thought to myself, I'm like, wow, they did a really good job with the sound effects.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was. I agree that all those ones that we rattled off, I think are great, and I think this was also pretty fantastic.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
I watched it, last night. But yeah, I think she is. You're absolutely right. Is this movie it hinges on her, and she delivers a pretty amazing performance.
And in hindsight, I feel so lucky that we found her because, you show up on day one. We only shot for like 11 days. So I'm doing like a lot of pages in a day.
Yeah.
If you know,
How many
filmmaking,
pages in a day are you doing? Out of curiosity.
a normal film, like especially at Marvel, you're doing like 2-3 pages a day, maybe 4. If you're in an action sequence, it's even less because you'll shoot, a 3-minute action sequence in 3 days.
Sure.
But we were doing like 10 or 12 pages in a
boy.
day, and our biggest one was 20, which actually turned out to be the best stuff. It was in the later half of the movie when she's like really stressed out and tired. Like, we really did that all at once. So
that's crazy.
some of that isn't just performance, it's like her really.
Well, when you're talking about shooting all these pages in a day, I'm really thinking that's her doing. I mean, it's mainly her doing.
Exactly. That's
the
what I
work.
mean. Is I felt. And we showed up on day one, and she could just go for 15 pages.
That's amazing.
Like, word line by line by line, and not miss anything. And it was really just like us keeping up with her. Okay, we got it. Let's go to a different angle.
Nice. Well, so to get a little bit of a peek behind the camera again, when you're talking about all the people on the phones, like, did they do any of that live, or was it mixed in later? How did you do all that?
I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do that, because you don't just want to have someone who's not an actor on set like feeding her lines, because then you miss out on performance stuff.
Right.
And this was also happening during COVID. So we were kind of limited in what we could, the groups of people we can get together, and we're trying to avoid all that kind of stuff. So my idea was, what we're doing right now is we did Zoom calls for the whole movie ahead of time.
Okay.
And we recorded her on her end and them on their end.
Good deal.
And we literally just went through one character at a time, all their scenes for a day, and then the next character, all their scenes for a day, the next character, all their scenes for the day.
So they got to perform off one another.
And they were performed off one another. They could see
That's
their
great.
faces, and we, talked through the scenes and made it all work.
That's cool.
And then at the end of the day, I would edit it all together with her spaces still there. And I sent it all to her for her iPod. And while she was on the plane, and when we had downtime or at night, she would listen to what she was going to act against on the next day.
That's
cool.
Man,
and she had the whole thing memorized, and it was paced the way I wanted to already. And we just hit play on a speaker in the room, and she just like did it.
Cool.
I love that DIY stuff, man. That is so
and it
dope,
worked out
man.
so well. It worked out so well because she just knew line after line after line.
Sure.
That's the question.
And really,
you always
at that point, it was less of a performance, on the day. It's more like recreating the performance we had already decided on.
Right. Well, that's the thing. That's how you always wonder with movies when they're on phone calls, and your whole movie is basically on phone calls. And so it's a lot more, but you wonder, how are they doing that? Are they listening on the day of the performance? Are they recording it before and then like playing it back, like you were saying? So it's always a question of like, how does that even happen? And it's fascinating.
Usually they have the actors doing the voices, in another room and making phone calls in, or at least, but we just couldn't make that happen.
No, that's understandable, but it works.
But it still worked out.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think it was for the benefit, because part of the story is her disconnected from everyone else.
Oh,
and
sure.
It comes across where you want to see those people, you want to see them, but you can't, because she's in a different place and she's powerless in a lot of ways.
True.
So that being said, it was tough. It was tough for her, because how do you act when there's nobody there to act against? And
it's a valid point.
On day 2, I was like, I realize what I'm asking of you, because usually you're asking an actor to react and then say a line, and react and say a line. But in this one, I have no one else to cut to. I'm just cutting to you. So we're getting different angles, but you have to be reacting all the time, because I can't just cut away from a bad performance,
Yeah, no, that's really, really cool. So it's on Amazon right now. Is that the main way to watch it?
You can watch this on Amazon for rental. It's on rental right now, or purchase. So it's on Amazon. It's on Google Play. It's on YouTube Movies. It should be on Tubi with ads, so you can watch it for free.
Oh, cool.
Very soon, within maybe even a couple weeks.
Okay.
And then at some point, it'll be on YouTube Movies through our distributor. They have their own channel. And then they're always looking for new places to put it. So I don't know, maybe one day it shows up on Roku or something. Yeah. But if you look for Solid Rock Trust on Google, you'll find all the places. And then if you look for Flashbulb Films, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Linktree, and you can find YouTube. You know, you can find the trailer and you can look for everything.
Awesome. We'll post a link
That's
to
awesome,
it too
man.
when we post the
for
episode.
sure.
So, how did it feel directing your first feature? And is there anything on the horizon? Any other
Oh man,
projects?
it was so fun. It's weird to sit in the assistant editor room on these big things day after day after day, and I love every second of it. It's one of those jobs where you pinch yourself,
Yeah,
Sure,
I bet.
sure.
whenever it gets boring, like any job gets boring at
You're
3
just
a.m.
like,
But also
you look
what
up and you're like,
look
well,
what
there's
I'm watching
Captain
right
America.
now.
Yeah, right. There's
Everyone
Captain
in the world
America's
wants
shield.
to see this stuff right now, and I'm watching
Yeah.
it.
That is pretty cool.
But it was a strange feeling on the first couple of days to, I've been writing the script for so long, and finally it's like right in front of you, and there's actors doing it, and there's lights look great, and the camera.
Yeah.
And man, coming to life, it's a unique feeling.
That's awesome, man. That's
And
Yeah,
we're just really
project.
proud of it. I think it turned out really, really well. I think you'll watch it and kind of forget you're watching an indie movie because it's different than most indie movies that you've seen.
Yeah, you definitely
see
have
a lot
higher
of action.
production value. I mean, and even though it is in the one location, though, you filmed that one location to the highest of your abilities, right? Like
and hopefully you forget that too. Like you're just sucked into the story, and
you
know where she is, and you know what she's dealing with, and it's important to you as much as it is her, and you're along for the ride. And
well,
actually, I've gotten that feedback from people that, man, I can't believe it just flew by. There's something always happening.
Well, they again through the writing and what's going on with all these different characters, you're invested in the characters. You're not thinking about how you're seeing the one location because you're painting this picture of the bank and of everything else that's going on, and so you really do kind of disappear into that.
I disagree because I think that she is giving you a pretty good idea of what we're looking at, right? Because she's describing where people are supposed to be and things like that. So when I can picture this bank in my head because she is describing there's a hallway here, there's a vault here, there's the stairs here, there's this here. So I was like, I really appreciated that because A, you don't have to film all that, and B, you're giving me enough of a description. I was like, okay, I think I know where we are in this bank.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways it is like a radio play that way, where you're just trusting the audience to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe I misspoke. I was saying I think you forget that you're in one location because they do such a good job painting the picture of all the other areas. Yeah, I agree with that.
I wasn't saying, Kevin.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that you're just in one area. And no. I totally agree. That's what I'm saying. So you did a really great job with it. People should check it out. I think it's like
it's absolutely
$5 to rent or something on Amazon.
It might be $4. I think it's weird. I'm just noticing now that the Amazon prices kind of fluctuate sometimes. But...
$4.50. $4.50. Take it or leave.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
And then if you do watch it, please, I would love for you to leave me a review or a rating somewhere, whether it's on Amazon or IMDb.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you want to do another one? Are you, after doing this writing and directing, is there?
Yeah. So I have a couple more scripts of various levels of budget that I would like to try to tackle. And the next one, I'm thinking about doing a horror movie. I really like the horror genre.
Joe's ears just...
But
giant size man thing.
It would always be, I'm really interested in taking genres and kind of flipping them around. So whatever that is, that would still be my goal. You know what I mean? So this was a bank heist like you've never really seen. And I'd like to do a horror movie in that way where it's still scary. It still follows, the tropes and stuff.
Yeah.
But would you make a Monster Squad 2?
I kind of like the Monster Squad movie.
You're goddamn right. You like the Monster Squad.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Rick.
That's been the show. That was one I saw as a kid, and
of course,
I remember it. And then you guys would rag on that, all the time.
Not you guys. Not you guys.
The show as a whole. And
not the show as a whole.
Yes, no, it is the collective opinion of the show.
Kid. I didn't even piece together that it was the same thing until I looked it up one day.
Wonderful.
Oh goodness! Well,
that's funny.
Well, all right. Well, Tom, take it away.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, no, thank you for joining us, Rick. Rick,
that was so good, man.
It was so fun to see you guys. Yeah, and it's been a dream.
Yeah, thank you for supporting the show, man. That's pretty dope.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
I need to do better at the League of Show shares because I'm not very good at posting stuff on Facebook.
I mean, you could
even
share,
for my own movie. I have
one.
someone to do that, but
yeah, start with
share this one.
And
well, don't start with this one because we won't read your name.
No, we need. He's on the show. He's got to share.
Oh no, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, sorry,
but I'll definitely share. Yeah, I could do better at that. But I am on your Facebook group, and I've chimed in there a couple times. So maybe people recognize my name and stuff. But Hopefully we can recruit some of them to check this one out.
Awesome. Well, thank
Yeah,
you again for
for sure.
joining us. And,
And thanks for bringing me on for a big episode too, because I know amongst the Marvel stuff.
There you go, the Marvel bump.
That's right. That's right. Get that Marvel bump, baby.
Well, that's it for this episode. I don't know what's going on next week, and I certainly did not think of a spoiler to read. So until next time, bye.
You've been warned.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we already